and you know, the first time he said it, because he wanted to get it off his chest, you know.
Sure.
Already got what they wanted and everything the first day. Then I tell y'all, so I know what y'all want.
Yeah.
Just I'm gonna give y'all what y'all want and leave before go on.
The last couple of bills here is, have we threatened you or made you any promises in regard to this conversation we had? Have I made any threats to you?
No.
Have I promised you anything?
No.
No.
That's the question.
That's correct. What do you think should happen now?
Should happen now?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Let me ask, has anybody promised you anything regarding this case?
Yeah, yeah.
No. Has anybody promised you anything regarding
The
this
murder of Tupac. Has anybody promised you anything in regard to the murder of Tupac?
Keith.
The first day they said anything.
Keith, listen
regarding this case?
There's been no promises on this case that you can recall. Do you recall someone saying something about this case?
Okay. That's what I was asking.
That's what I'm saying. I was trying to
asking.
Regarding this Tupac murder, were you ever, to get it clarity, promised anything regarding Tupac?
He's from Las Vegas. He's from the Las
Exactly.
Vegas Police Department. Nobody has told you that the Las Vegas Police Department has promised you anything.
Or did any other agency promise you anything regarding the Tupac case?
That's what I'm
I
going
would
to
just
say.
say this. They said anything I talk about.
It's confidential and covered, right?
Yeah, and they said you cannot be charged on it.
No. Regarding the Tupac. I'm talking to you now. Did we ever promise him anything regarding the Tupac?
No, we've never had that conversation about the Tupac case.
Nothing.
About promises. The Tupac case is different than some other issues. But your conversation with him is because you weren't involved in shooting Tupac. That's the reason you're here.
Yeah.
That's correct?
Right.
You weren't involved in shooting him in any way. You didn't, although things happened, it wasn't because you was out there trying to shoot Tupac.
I wasn't trying to shoot him.
You had some issues about Suge and some things was told to you, but it wasn't about shooting Tupac.
I wasn't about shooting.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
In fact, what? And I mean, for clarification, I think who's the other guy in the back that had the gun? Before it went to Orlando, who had the gun?
Big Dre.
If anything, you thought he was going to shoot who?
Huh?
You thought he was going to shoot Suge, is that correct?
Okay. Okay.
I mean, there's issues, but I don't think that.
I was watching 48 Hours.
Mm-hmm.
The San Antonio case. This dude, they killed his old man at the park. So they went. They picked him up, talked to him and shit. Said, "You ain't going to jail." Ooh. But they let him go out. You gonna walk out? You good? You going home? 3 hours later.
How long does it take you to get home?
For me to get home?
Here.
It's gonna take about 3 hours to get home.
Don't go home, okay? Man, he know I'm bad. Don't go home, okay? You have to worry about that. But that's not the reason for this meeting. I mean, you know, Keith, it's a real serious case, and obviously there's issues, and there's issues of accountability, but the point is, you know, this is a unique set of facts. If you guys actually, which is true, wasn't shooting, Orlando had a problem with Tupac, and he grabbed a gun and shot Tupac, and y'all wasn't looking for him, you know, it is what it is. That's my opinion. But if y'all was looking for Tupac, you know, and that's what your intent was, then I think that there's a different issue.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
I mean, Orlando was very upset, you know, and I mean,
I get that.
you know, but you know, this is what
And it's believable because it's always been what we believed it to be.
But what amazed me is that's what I couldn't figure out. It's like, it seemed like the first thing you thought when I was looking at news is the guy just got beat up, he went and killed him, but I couldn't understand how it wasn't connected that fast.
Because he went to the hospital.
No, we connected it.
I mean, y'all knew it, but
they raided our houses.
Yeah.
But what, it just wasn't any.
We were under the impression that there was different people in the car.
Oh, okay.
Some of the same, some of different. But I've always believed Orlando was a shooter.
Yeah.
The problem in the car? Was I always in the car?
Sometimes
be.
yes, sometimes no.
Yeah.
Your name came up a lot.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of stuff going on. We just.
But I mean, I'm more kind of from the street, D is, suburban dude. But the reality of it is that I believe, in his situation, usually gang leaders, people that are top of this gang, they usually have beef. Like his beef would have been with Suge.
Right.
Tupac would be, and I'm speaking for Keith, but Keith tell you, it would be like something minor to him. He wouldn't even be in the same ballpark with him. So Keith really wouldn't have a beef with Tupac. Because his thing would be like, Orlando or whatever y'all little problem is, you need to straighten out on the street. But if it was more him and Suge, that would be him, Suge, or somebody in a leadership role would be somebody he would really focus on.
Go ahead.
Because it would be kind of demeaning for him to focus on that.
Yeah, okay. I'm sorry. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
Where's your rest? I'm tired. Here you go.
Oh, that's fine.
Oh, okay, good.
Okay. State who's your next witness.
Mike Dorsey.
Okay.
So that was the second interview that we heard where TPD described his involvement in the shooting and the murder of Tupac Shakur in detail in his own words, which his position now is that he was not being truthful and he embellished or exaggerated or basically said whatever he needed to say for monetary gain. And that's what kept him booked on podcasts left and right. So now let's get into this next witness.
Action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Please be seated. Please state your name and spell your first and last name for the record.
Sure, I'm Michael Dorsey, and it's MichaelDorsey.
Thank you, sir. Whenever you're ready, Mr. Jacqueline, you may proceed.
Mr. Dorsey, how would you describe your profession?
I am a film producer and documentary producer and filmmaker.
How long have you been doing that?
About 25 years.
And do you focus on a particular type of documentary?
My expertise is probably true crime more than anything else, but I've done all different subject matters.
I'm going to direct your attention to sometime around 2011. Do you decide to make a documentary about the Tupac Shakur and Biggie Smalls murder?
It was late 2012. Greg Kading's murder rap book had been out for about a year. And at the time, I would always have some passion documentary project going on the side. And I just finished the most recent one, and I was looking for a new project. And I came across a couple of articles about Greg Kading's murder rap book. And they had some quotes from Keefe D's 2008 proffer in them. And it just sounded legit to me. I don't cater to conspiracy theories, but it sounded very well backed up, and it sounded like the real deal. So I just reached out to Greg Kading and asked if he was interested in making a documentary, and he said, yeah. And we went from there.
So you reached out to Kading and asked him if you wanted to do the documentary, and he said yes.
Correct.
Describe your process. Well, do you have to do research to do the to do a documentary like this?
Yes, it took me over 2 years to make the film, in large part because of all the extra research that I did. I needed to interview Greg Kading for it. He was kind of the main person walking us through the story. But I also wanted to make sure that what he was telling me was legitimate, and also needed to make sure that I covered the whole story, so I understand it, and it's not just him, deciding what we're going to cover. As part of that, he turned over to me digital copies of the entire LAPD case file for the Biggie Smalls and Tupac cases, and gave me unfettered access to those files so I could check basically on my own what he was telling me.
You also, well, maybe you didn't. Did you check into, Greg Kading's wasn't the first book ever written about this.
Sure.
Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah. I also read Kathy Scott's The Killing of Tupac Shakur, which was the first kind of definitive book on the murders. And then lots of articles on it, of course, because there's been tons of coverage over the years.
And as you were kind of researching all of this, this information, what is your ultimate goal in creating a documentary?
Well, there's like the kind of philosophical aspect of it, which is my goal is to get at the truth. But also my goal is to tell the public a good story, something that I think is of the public interest that they should know. And in this case, it seems like they had solved this murder, and yet the world was carrying on like it was still unsolved and like we still didn't know what happened. And it was like, it sounds like we do know what happened. And so that was my goal, was to put that out there.
Did you have any concerns about accusing anybody of murder?
Absolutely. I had concerns for my own safety, accusing a gang member from a violent street gang of committing a murder, and then also just my own financial concerns, since Puffy was going to be implicated in it as well. Taking on someone who was at the time heading towards becoming a billionaire, and who at that time did not have the public backlash that he's faced the last few years. He still had a pretty good, clean image at the time. So I was concerned about both.
And based upon that, do you eventually make a documentary?
I do, yes.
Does anybody sue you?
I was not sued, no. I was threatened a couple of times.
Who threatened you?
Universal Music sent me a note because we used Tupac's Hit 'Em Up, his diss track against Biggie and Puffy. In the film, we did it using what's called fair use law, which means you don't have to pay for it because it's a documentary. It was just like a cursory check-in from a lawyer at Universal Music, making sure we had permission, and our law firm had cleared it for us. So that was no problem. And then supposedly Puffy's attorney, Weitzman, I can't remember his last name, but he was a high-powered A-list attorney. He sent a note to Apple TV over it because that was one of our distribution companies, and basically saying that the film was defamatory towards his client Puffy Combs, and that they had like 5 business days to pull it down. And Apple, they're indemnified, so they don't care. It's up to us. It's up to me as the producer if I want to pull it down or not, because I'm the one that's going to get sued, not them. And we said no, we're leaving it up, and that was the last we ever heard of it.
So you never wound up getting sued by Puffy?
You were never sued by Puffy, no.
Now I want to sort of fast forward past 2012. Does there come a point in time when you see something that causes you to want to get involved with Mario Diaz?
Yes. I can't remember the exact date, but it was probably early 2017 would be my guess. Earlier in 2017, I was actually in Tulsa, Oklahoma for a film screening of one of my films. And I was out at dinner, and I think someone sent me a link to this YouTube video, and it was Keefe D in a studio. It's a short video. It's just him saying he's going public. He wants the world to know he was there for Tupac's murder. He says he has cancer. He wants the truth to come out. And I couldn't believe it. I immediately realized I was at a restaurant. I went outside and started calling people. And I talked to, I think, Greg Kading and some others, and we just thought, Keefe has to know he can't go public with this information because it can be used against him. But it sounded like he was going to go and talk, publicly about this murder and repeat possibly what he had said in his proffer in 2008. So we went from there, and then that's when I decided, I wanted to get involved with it.
And ultimately, are you retained as a subject matter expert for the production done that's now known as Death Row Chronicles by E1 Entertainment?
Yes, I was a technical consultant, and I was an on-camera expert as well. So they interviewed me.
I'm going to fast forward a little bit and come back to that. Subsequent to your involvement in Death Row Chronicles, have you continued to sort of follow these murders, investigations, the case, everything else?
Absolutely. 2017, when he recorded the interview for Death Row Chronicles in July of 2017, we were actually in production on Unsolved at Universal, which was a scripted series based on the murder rap story. So that was happening concurrently. And then he kept going public. He kind of laid low, I think, for a year and a half or so. And then this book that he had talked about during his BET interview, all of a sudden he's promoting it and saying it's about to come out. And then we find out he's going on Vlad TV and doing another interview. So he just kept, from then on, for years then, he just kept doing more and more interviews So I stayed engaged with it, and I also was conducting my own interviews, following up with new people. James McDonald, Mob James, who I believe testified, I conducted his first ever public interview back in 2017. We convinced him to go public and tell his story. Since then, I talked to multiple gang members, gang detectives from Compton, detectives out of the LAPD, anybody who might have information on either Biggie's case or Tupac's.
In particular, back in 2012, when you kind of reviewed the information that was available, was there any information from Trayvon Lane or Roger Williams within kind of the case file as statements that they made about what happened?
In the case files, were there statements from them?
Yeah.
Not really, no, because Trayvon, they don't cooperate with the police. There was an FI card from Buntry, Alton McDonald, who's James McDonald's brother, that they had talked to him at the scene and he refused to cooperate, but they noticed that there was a bullet hole in his car. And then subsequently, I've interviewed Williams, Neckbone. I interviewed him a few months ago, and I've had private conversations with Trayvon Lane.
In particular, Buntry is deceased, and
Yes.
was deceased even
Yes.
before you became involved in the project at any point.
Correct. He was murdered like 20 some years ago.
During the course of the interview with Mr. Roger Williams, aka Neckbone, do you provide some video that was taken of Mr. Shakur and Suge as they're leaving the Tyson?
Yes. I showed him the MGM video of Orlando Anderson getting beat down. Neckbone was one of the men who participated in that beating. And then I showed them the footage of them then fleeing the casino with Tupac in the lead with his bodyguard, Frank Alexander, and Suge. And there was a moment where Neckbone kind of reaches out and kind of punches Trayvon, like we got him kind of a thing. And he confirmed for me in my interview that that's what it was. That's what he was doing. And he also told Trayvon.
Let me. I was like,
It is. Well, I'll sustain and you'll rephrase.
Yeah.
So straight.
As you see both Neckbone and Trayvon Lane running through on the video, you can see Neckbone kind of either dap or punch Trayvon.
Exactly.
And at that point, Trayvon Lane removes the black hat he's wearing.
His fedora that he had on, yes.
I was actually talking about somebody else's video. Was there some high quality video of Tupac and Suge leaving the...
Yes, when they first leave the arena, there's some footage. I think it was actually shot by BET. A BET photographer was there and shot, and it's footage of them coming out of the arena, and Tupac is in his gold shirt, and he's all hyped up because he just watched his friend Mike Tyson knock somebody out, and he's playing to the camera, and he says something about, if you go to jail, you come out and you win, or something like that, because Tyson had also gone to prison, and Tupac had as well. So you could tell he was just super amped up.
And then last night we watched that portion of that video out of your Neckbone interview.
Right.
And then that one, Neckbone is the person speaking while that video is playing.
Yes.
Judge, I have marked in my hand the clip of just the Tupac and Suge at the MGM coming out of the fight. Has the audio removed.
Okay.
It's just the video portion of that I'd offer at this time.
Any objection?
No objection.
Okay, you may play it. Or sorry, it's admitted. You may publish.
Thank you.
Did you give him
154?
154?
My exhibits disappeared.
Both Suge and Mr. Shakur are both readily identifiable from this video. correct?
Right, yes.
And this is the shirt that, the clothing that both of them are wearing as they come out of the arena.
Yes, and there's photos of them beforehand in the casino in the same outfits.
May I approach, Judge?
You may.
Showing you as marked as state's proposed exhibit number 149. Have you ever seen the photograph of these men sitting on the curb sometime after the homicide occurred?
Yes, I've seen this.
And do you recognize the people that are in those photos?
I recognize them more because I've been told who they are, although Trayvon Lane is very easily recognizable because I know that that's the outfit that he was wearing that night.
Okay.
Mr. Cole, can you take down the listing of what's on there?
Oh, sorry.
You may proceed.
Thank you. So that's Trayvon Lane.
Mhm.
We've previously heard testimony that's Idi Amin and Leonard Jefferson.
Correct.
Have you ever spoke to Kevin Woods?
I've never talked to Kevin Woods.
And do you even know who Castro is?
Yes, another member of the Outlaws.
Okay.
Yes.
Were Kevin Woods, Castro, and Idi Amin all members of the Outlaws?
No, Kevin Woods, I believe, was one of the Pyrus, also known as KW.
So just Castro and Idi Amin are.
As far as, yes.
Okay. You got a little bit ahead of me, but during your research into this case, you had access to the Biggie Smalls file. Alton McDonald is actually known as Buntree, correct?
Yes.
And you mentioned this. There was a record of the fact that he was field interviewed by the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department in the night of the homicide on Flamingo.
Yes.
And at that time, he was driving a black '96 Toyota Supra.
Yes.
And it had a bullet hole.
Yes.
Did it say where the bullet hole was?
No, it just said vehicle took bullet impact.
And that he was uncooperative.
And that he didn't want to cooperate, of course, yes.
Now, you've also interviewed Reggie Williams, is that correct? Or Reggie Wright Jr.?
Reggie Wright Jr., yes. I interviewed him for a murder rap, over a decade ago when we were making that movie.
I'll leave that alone. I just want to get a few other pictures into evidence with you. So during the course of the 2008 proffer, there's a mention of greenblatts.
Yes.
And sometimes it sounds like greenbacks.
Yes.
Were you able to eventually identify that location?
Yes, it's very obvious. It's a New York deli. It's been there since the 20s. It's very famous. It's on Sunset. It matched the description. And also the way Keefe described the upstairs and downstairs and where the liquor area was, it was clear that he was talking about Greenblatt's.
Showing you as marked the state's proposed exhibit number 152. Do you recognize that?
Yes, this is the front of Greenblatt's on Sunset Boulevard.
There's some blue writing on there. You recognize that as well?
Yes, those are subtitles that I added.
That's a screenshot off of your interview, I think, with Neckbone.
Yes.
Were you aware of a person by the name of Eric Zip Martin, also known as Equan Williams, maybe Eric Von Zip Martin? He went by a bunch of names.
Yes.
Who was he?
Zip has a long story. He's kind of a Harlem legend, a hustler from Harlem. He was a drug dealer, trafficker. He, I believe, also was a trafficking women. Was a pimp. He was an older generation, or kind of in between Puffy's generation and Puffy's father. Puffy's father was also involved in the street business there in New York and was murdered when Puffy was very young. And Zip Martin was kind of like he was a mentor to Puffy when it came to like the street life and wanting to kind of have that gangster persona. And supposedly he may have also been dating Puffy's mother at some point.
Was he the godfather to anybody associated with this particular case?
Yeah, he was supposedly godfather to Biggie's son, Chris, CJ.
And is that the son with Faith Evans?
Yes, I believe so. Yes.
When Biggie died, was there a memorial that gave certain credit to Zip?
Yes, actually, on his second album that came out a few weeks after he died, Life After Death, in the back there's a thank you, a list of all the people to thank, and in there's Uncle Zip, and then in parentheses it says the spiritual advisor.
You also, I'll put this in 151, showing you was marked as state's proposed exhibit number 151. You recognize that?
Yes.
And who are those two individuals?
That is Sean Puffy Combs on the left and Zip Martin on the right, and this was supposedly at a New Year's Eve party in 94 or 95.
Move to admit 151.
Any objection? You may. Pursuant to the conversation of the bench, no objection, it'll be admitted. You may publish if you want, or whatever you want to do with it.
I think we got to do both. I'm not sure I did 152 yet. So 152. That's one of the shots that you had of Greenblatt's.
Yes.
And then 151. That's Mr. Martin.
Yes, on the right.
And who's the guy on the left?
The left is Sean Puffy Combs.
Now, Mr. Diaz testified about sort of the production of the Death Row Chronicles. And initially, were you contacted by Cliff Mogg as well?
I reached out first to Las Vegas Homicide, and then Cliff Mogg reached out to me after that.
He had contact with you, and just so since this is one we put up in our opening, showing you state's proposed exhibit number 61. You recognize that guy?
That is Zip Martin.
Move to admit 61.
No objection, Mayor.
So admitted.
And do you essentially conduct an interview with Detective Bond?
Yes, he came out to Los Angeles and interviewed me in my home with his sergeant.
Was there a request for all of the underlying supporting raw data / footage associated with the two interviews you were involved in 2017?
For Death Row Chronicles?
Yes.
Yes. It wasn't so much a request, but I told him, I figured you could just subpoena the raw footage and get it. I didn't know yet that, there's laws and that it's kind of up to the entertainment companies if they want to turn over footage or not. They can't be compelled to. So that's what I thought would happen. I thought I'll let him know about this, and then it's his to do with what he wants.
Sometime after the indictment of this case, did you learn that we were unable to acquire the raw footage of that?
Yes, and I was even included on some of the email threads at my request because I was also reaching out to Paramount. Paramount Pictures attorney got involved. Paramount owns BET. And I think someone at E1 got involved, and they were initially saying no. And since I work in the business, I was trying to work it out with them how they could get that footage over. And then ultimately they did give permission for it to be shared.
Did you have footage, or I shouldn't say footage,
Right.
did you had your own raw data at that point that was also authorized to be disclosed?
I did.
Explain to us how the setup was.
Sure. So my reason for being hired onto Death Row Chronicles was a technical consultant, but mainly it was tied to Keefe's interview. I helped Mario Diaz write the questions. And then on both days of the interviews, they had me in an office there at E1's studios, or their office building. I'm down the hall from where the production studio was, where Keefe was being interviewed. And they gave me a headset so I could listen live to the interview as Mario was conducting it. And then I was texting follow-up questions to Mario while he was in the studio as things came up.
Were you recording your audio feed?
Yes, I took the headphones off and I made my own recording with my phone.
At some point, do you learn that the only thing that's we could acquire from E1 Entertainment was an actual transcript of the tapes themselves, but not the tapes?
Correct. Yes.
And then did you provide us the audio to your that you had done during these 2 interviews?
Yes. Once you subpoenaed me, I sent over my audio.
And was there? Are you aware of either gaps in your audio or additional audio that wouldn't have been in the transcripts?
Yes, there's sections where I was rolling, and I'm sure they were rolling also, but they're only going to transcribe. The reason of making a transcript for a production is the pertinent parts of the interview that they're actually going to edit into the show. So it's so that when the producers go to figure out how they're going to edit the show together, they have a transcript and they can tell the editors, use this segment here, use this segment here, use this part. There's a lot of chit chat stuff that I had that they might have also had that was not transcribed because it was just chatter. It's never going to be used in the show. There are also some sections where I probably was rolling when they might have already cut. And lastly, there's a few moments where in the first interview, one of my audio recordings, the file was corrupted. So I lost about the last 4 minutes of it. And then during some of the interviews, I didn't always know when they would be done with a break, when they had come back and were already rolling again. So there's a few times when I missed maybe the first few minutes of a new segment.
We'll start with the transcripts. State's proposed exhibit number 113 and 114. First of all, you recognize the front page as being the original transcripts that were generated off the tapes.
Yes.
And then did you become aware that we took your audio, transcribed the additional audio, and then anything that was not on your audio, we highlighted in yellow to identify you didn't have it, but it shows in the transcript?
Correct, yes.
And so these should be as complete a record as we have between your audio and those videotapes for the 2 interviews that occurred in July of 2017.
Yes, correct.
Judge, I move to admit both 113 and 114.
Any objection?
Madam Mayor, Bush.
Yep.
So what's happening now is the state is trying to move into evidence the transcripts from 2 interviews that came as late as July 2017 that were conducted with Keefe D for this documentary. And the Keefe D's defense attorney has some issue with apparently what was laid out, likely the foundation being established. There's a whole procedure within court where you have to lay a foundation and then have a witness testify to having direct knowledge of a thing in order for it to be satisfied and then moved into evidence. So that's likely what the hang up is here. Could be something else, but that's why the audio is muted and they're at sidebar. That's what this is. This is called a sidebar conversation between the attorneys and the judge, and they whisper up there so the jury can't hear it and members of the court, but that's what's going on. But so far, a couple things. I'm still interested in this, in that I heard this yesterday and now I'm hearing this on the record, but Greg Kading, who, famously was the detective on the Biggie Smalls case. But when he left, they alleged that he took with him or stole the files of Tupac Shakur and Biggie Smalls. He took both of those files. And then this Michael Dorsey testified that Greg Kading gave him digital copies of the police files, which is wild to me. But I wonder what all is contained in there, and if things have been redacted, because if you've been following this for some time now, those files had to be heavily protected because they were allegedly tampered with, or they were in danger of being stolen by other people, or having things wind up missing from it. So a whole situation. Okay, they're done at sidebar. So let's hear what they.
All right, pursuant to our discussion at the bench, the transcripts will be admitted over objection. And that will be as 114 and 15? 114 and 115?
113 and 114.
113 and 114. Thank you.
Mr. Dorsey, I want to give an example to the jury about what we're talking about.
Sure.
Here, and let me put my glasses on. We're in 113. So if we go to 113, and we roll down to about page 28. Oop, there it is. It's page 28. Time cutoff is about 30 minutes and 16 seconds in. The yellow part is the part that's not on your audio tape. Is that correct?
Yes.
And that was transcribed from the original videos that we don't have.
Right.
And everything else that's unhighlighted, we should hear on the audio.
You should hear, yes.
Okay. And that would be the same for both of these.
Yes.
In addition, I've had marked both the July 17th, 2017 as 121, and the July 18th of 2017 as 122. I'd offer those as well.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
So admitted.
And well, we got about 40 minutes, Judge, so I would start 121.
Okay.
I grew up in the city of Compton. Yeah. Southside over there in Compton College right there. What was Compton like? It was when I first started. Compton was when I was I moved here when I was like 3, and it was literally white, all white. It was the first black family on the street.
Where'd you move from?
We moved from Watts.
Oh, right. But you still grew up in LA.
I don't think he's lying.
Yeah.
And how did it change during the 60s, 70s, and 80s?
In the 60s, it was mostly all white. About 69, 70, 71, they started moving out. More black families was coming in.
And then when did it get dangerous? When did it start getting dangerous?
When did it start to get dangerous?
Yeah.
Oh, about about 72, 73.
What happened?
The gangs started coming in. Like the first Crips were the Grandies and the Blue Hills right there on Londa right there. Grandy Crips.
So you were part of that history, the initial sort of gang.
Yeah, I was there when the first, I was a kid when it first started.
That noise, and I'm
Yes.
stopping this at 1 minute and 45 seconds, it looks like.
Yes.
Was that your phone
That is
making
my
noise?
phone making that noise. Yes. And there's going to be a few times here where you're going to hear me loudly texting, and you're not going to be able to hear the audio very well because I was probably texting a message to Mario in that moment. So sometimes it cuts out in this first interview.
Yeah, maybe approach.
Interesting. I'm curious as to what issue the defense attorney has here that he's raising. Something, I'm assuming, to do with this evidence or the way it's being displayed. I'm not sure. And an interesting thing to note about this is now, if I'm not mistaken, this is the third audio recording that we've heard so far of Keefe D detailing his story and his involvement in the Tupac Shakur murder. The first two times he was given these statements to police officers or members of law enforcement, and believed there was a proffer, at least. But if I'm not mistaken, this is for the documentary. So he's not giving these statements to law enforcement. These are the filmmakers, because this Michael Dorsey is even helping with the questions. And I believe he's submitting them to a Mr. Diaz. I need further clarification on who Mr. Diaz is, but I believe he's one of the filmmakers as well. So there are presumably, consequences if you lie to law enforcement, especially federal law enforcement. However, there aren't the same consequences if you lie to filmmakers. You could fictionalize something, exaggerate something. KVD could be telling them anything, really. Could be making up whatever he wants to. However, I'm assuming, as we'll listen, we'll see how closely it relates to what he said when he was speaking to law enforcement before. We have some comments. Hey, Angelica, glad you're joining us again. Yeah, Greg must be one of the most powerful people for these two cases. Yeah, definitely is, and definitely helped get things to where they are today. But Mr. Kading spent a great deal of time. Oh, let's hear what they've said. They've decided. Oh, that's just right back to it. So they're not going to share with us whatever was discussed or decided upon at sidebar.
So tell us about Southside Cribs. How'd you make that?
Well, the Thursday that Southside started, I happened to be at the school when it started. All my big homies, brothers, they was there. I was shooting dice. My dad rolled by, and he seen me. Papa, what the hell are you doing? I said, shooting dice. He said, shooting dice? I'm like, yeah. I said, Get your ass in this car. Come on with me. So I really got a whipping for trying to be a salsa. So I was about 9 years old when it first started.
That early.
Yeah.
How'd you work your way up?
How'd I work my way up?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. I don't feel comfortable saying
No. You don't have to go into detail. You can just say, look.
You don't talk too much about his gang affiliation or what he did to get
Whatever
his way up.
Okay, so answer the question again.
Yeah. How'd you work your way up to that organization?
What, to be the boss?
Yeah.
Well, money, really. You know what I'm saying? Money gave me the power and stuff like that. The dope game, really. Dope game. The coach, one of the coaches at Compton College, I was 17 years old. Got to start with that.
So you will respect him.
Yeah.
Respect the guys.
Yeah. Because when I was in high school, I was in this program called Upward Bound at UCLA.
Called what?
Upward Bound program.
Shit, I was kind of a smart student and stuff like that. And on the weekend,
Like an advanced
I
program.
come home,
So he lives.
and all my homies, they was kind of rolling. You know what I'm saying? And I was up there eating them noodles and toodles, you know what I'm saying? So I kind of should have stayed there going to UCLA, but I stopped, got in the gang, started selling drugs.
Man. Could have gone to college, gone to gangs instead.
Stop that for now. Yeah, so can we find out? Yeah. Well, just continue. Yeah, can you keep an eye on that? I'm not paying attention yet. That looks good.
Oh,
we talked about it, man.
I was like 9 years old, 10 years old, 10, playing Paul Warner football.
That's
And then
interesting.
I was a running back on the team, and he was the center, like the ball. His dad and his uncle was our coach. So after we would win games, we would go over their houses, go swimming, have hot dogs, chips, and everything. And I was like the star running back, running out, winning all the touchdowns. Number 20. Yeah.
And Suge was what?
Huh?
What was Suge?
Suge was the center.
Who's the center?
Yeah, I hiked the ball.
Right.
Yeah.
What was your, were you guys tight? Or just knew each other sort of like, because you were.
Back then,
Yeah, back then.
the coaches was real strict. You know, they didn't care. You know, you bring your parents up there, trying to, you know, rough house them, they gonna whoop the parents' ass. You know, the coaches was real strict, so his daddy used to, I was doing a lot of exercises, running a lot of laps, push-ups, 6 inches, beat the stomach and shit. We used to be mad at that motherfucker, you know what I'm saying? His dad is punishing our ass. So, shit. At practice, I used to try to take it out on his motherfucking ass. You know what I'm saying? Hit his ass even harder, you know what I'm saying? He was a little younger than us, you know, maybe a year or two. I used to punish his ass every chance I get because your daddy fucked it over us. 6 inches, all that exercising, hard work and shit, bull rings. So really, Coach's son used to catch it back then. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
He ended up going to
UNLV.
UNLV, right?
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
We had lost contact back in that area when he went to UNLV. And then we lost contact.
You didn't continue playing?
Got in the drug game. Yeah. My mom, they got sick when I was 15, 16 years old. She suffered with cancer. So I really lost my backbone. You know, when she lost, that really broke my heart. I really kind of needed my mom's back then. At that point in time in my life, she could push me to be a better person.
Is Keefe D wiping tears right now?
So when did you get when did you connect with Sugar again? Like Death Row days?
I can't tell you all this. You know what I'm saying? Because these dudes is still in the street on me.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So, okay, so forget about that. Now, talk to me about Death Row. When he started Death Row, were you connected?
Yeah. I was rolling, yeah.
Business?
Yeah. I was big time, man. Real big time. I was bigger than him and Puff.
I've heard that before at the beginning.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because they're like when they started hanging out with Puffy in like 93, 94, they're
Can't say
like,
what I want to think of. My
you
wife.
go to a
know
concert
what
with him, would Puff pay for your room? Be like, I didn't even fucking pay for my room. We had more money than they did. They were just a little startup company, music label.
Right.
Like we were rolling. Like what are you talking about? I don't need to pay my hotel room. The other way around, if anything.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a hell of a life, man. You know, being the king like that, the boss, all different areas, you know, different states. It's home, man. I was having fun, man.
You see a lot of money from your hands?
Yeah, really. Like 3-4 million every month. All
They made three.
How did Sugar
What are you saying?
earn his reputation as a tech guy? That's what everyone thinks of him. You know him differently. You know
Well, you guys think you're tough,
That's what I'm saying.
You know.
Who's the real Sugar?
He went to college. He just like the rappers. You know, they want to be gangsters, but they're not.
Great line.
You know what I'm saying? College guy or rapper.
Great line.
They're not no gangsters. They rap about what we do. You know what I'm saying?
Talking
Real
about Sugar.
gangsters do. You know what I'm saying? That's just like Tupac, Biggie. You guys ain't no gangsters, you know. They just rap that. They don't represent that.
And Suge,
Suge had the industry scared. He didn't have the street scared. I knew him since he was a kid.
Great
You know what I'm
lines.
saying? I knew he wasn't like that. You guys thought he was like that. I never thought he
Suge had the industry scared. He never had the street
He's a
scared.
college kid.
Yeah.
That's a great
What
line.
college kid you know a gangster? You ready to get $1 million to be associated with blood? Come on, man. You wasn't in the streets, dude. Knock it off.
I want to get the real story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is what this film is about.
Just like the guy knocked him out at the barbershop, the barber. Come on, man. Yeah. I been knew that. Since we played football together. You know, you find out a person's heart, especially in a football game. Football, you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
So tell me more about him. Do you think he was just a little home sugar bear? Was he really softy at heart?
No, his dad's name is Suge. And he just took on his dad's name. He just called him Big Suge when he was playing football.
That's his dad's name.
His name is
Yeah, his
Jerry.
dad's name is Suge.
But I mean, what was his personality? Was he?
His name was
like,
Sugar Bear.
You
That's
say
what
he
his
was
mom
a
called
gangster.
him.
Was he like
And then it got shortened to Suge.
a softy at heart? Like was he like a soft guy?
Oh, he's a good kid. Went to college. That's what good kids do, go to college. Yeah.
Did he have business smarts?
Evidently he did. You know, he took a record company from the ground up and made it $100 million, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He shouldn't have been trying to be no gangster, because he's not no gangster. He should have just stuck with the business. You know what I'm saying? Like Puff did. Stuck with the business, you know? The business side. Jay-Z stuck with the business. But you ain't running around here hitting on people. You know what I'm saying? Think you a gangster. Then you got some crooked cops running around with you. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
So that was his problem. He was trying to be a gangster when he wasn't.
Yeah.
That got him into trouble.
Really, you can't be out here faking. You know what I'm saying? You really can't be out here faking at all. You know, because you will get exposed. You know, the streets will eat you up. Especially if you're weak.
I got you. So, real quick, just to talk about Death Row again. So, when did you first hear about Death Row? Like when they were doing really well, were you excited? Were you around that whole scene? You know, Dre and Snoop and all that stuff, or were you not so close to that?
I was handling my business, man. I wasn't worried about no, you know what I'm saying? Them dudes rapping about
Can that
what
dude
I
out
do.
there give me a Coke?
You know
That dude that's getting our lunch
they not
orders.
really
Their way to
like that.
like page
They
that
rap
guy.
about
Or
what gangsters do.
I have no idea.
I'm not no
that dude's name.
gang.
You don't know who that guy is?
Gang, maybe.
Okay. I see him walk by.
It's a difference.
You, when we were talking in my office, you told me that you delivered the money for the, for the startup money for sure.
That's gonna, that can get me hurt on me. You know what I'm saying?
Did you listen to their music?
Yeah, it was cool. I liked it all eyes on me. The Chronic, Dr. Dre. It was from my side of town. Him and Easy and Ren, they from my side of town. So,
Did you, you're a fan of Tupac?
ran pretty well from
yeah, it was cool.
NWA.
I liked it.
There's stories that your brother Kevin was typing easy.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
They was two youngsters trying to make it in the street, doing their thing, making money and stuff. Yeah. And I went to the pen. In 1985. And cause I used to be in his house. He used to be making all that racket. Yeah. I'm like, man, that sounds like some fucking bullshit. Turn that shit off. You know what I'm saying? Shit, but he stuck with it. And I was walking around the track in Tracy all the time. I'm listening to the cruising down the street in my 6'4". It was him. I didn't even know. One of my partners came up and was like, I'm like, man, what to do, Eric? Why you doing? He like, man, you heard that record? Easy, that's Eric. I'm like, man, you bullshitting. You know what I'm saying? Because they only had 2 TV stations back then in the prison.
Awesome.
So, you know, but we was listening to the shit on the radio the whole time. And I didn't know that was easy. I was like, damn, when I got out, he blew up like a motherfucker. Yeah.
But Kevin wasn't into music?
Huh?
Kevin wasn't into music?
Kevin went to prison.
Yeah. Well, he was there with you.
No, he went to prison after me. He went to prison when he blew up kind of. This shit that came off. Yeah.
How many times did you go in?
How many times I went in?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. I did a shooting. And I had a drug case. I went to Tracy Corcoran, and then I went to the feds. I went about 4 times to the feds. This last little bit, they raided my house, came in. Said, the guy didn't know who the fuck I was at first. He like, raided my house, looked for my daughter's boyfriend. So, damn, he like, what you got in here? So I got a pistol and some money. okay, or I'm glad you declared it. So the motherfucker got I had that on my drawers, my slingshot t-shirt, while he had me in handcuffs. So he went in the room and got my pants, and he found out who the fuck I was. Called me back in there, he like, man, I know who you are. I'm like, he said, man, you QBD. You the leader of this gang. I'm like, man, I ain't been out there in about 5 years. He like, oh, fuck that. I'm taking you to jail. I said, man, you ain't a man of your word. Dude. You said you're going to, declare my shit. No. I just take you in. So I just did a little bit in law school for that, for a little gun case.
How long ago was that?
That was in 2015.
Okay. The stuff with Kumo and the whole mafia deal that had been made before.
Is that it?
All right, let's just move on. Yeah, let's switch it. So this is one of those times where you guys can stop and change of color. You're good? You need water?
Okay. Yeah.
More mint?
Anyways,
Feel all right? Like, yeah. You shouldn't.
I can't tell if they're just bullshitting right now, if they're filming.
Yeah. They didn't give you a plastic.
No, he caught it. He sewed it right back together.
Yeah.
He told me before I went to the surgery that I was going to have a colostomy bag.
Yes, it's the location. If it's near the rectum, it's above.
Yeah.
But it's mainly it's.
Yes, it is.
I told you, I've got two people close to me who got it.
I'm a hospital now.
You want?
That's what scared the shit out of me.
Oh, so you have a hereditary thing.
Man.
Right. Well, I mean, I got my check. It's supposed to be at 50. I got my check at 40.
Yeah. I've been going every year now.
You do it every year?
Yeah,
I do it every 5.
Yeah.
All right, let's continue. Are you guys recording? Hey, so, there's a bunch of Southsiders in 90s music videos. You guys know it. Why don't you read the video?
Great.
Do you remember which ones you were in? Like,
is that Mellow?
Yeah.
All of Easy. One of my brothers is a famous actor in every Easy video. He come get him every time Easy used to get a video. Pick him up, older brother, every time. Every single time, every single Easy video.
so was that fun? Was that something you guys did all the time?
TV, I didn't want to get exposed like that because of the type of business I was in.
Okay, but your nephews in.
I was in one the Mellow video, just that Mellow. That's the only one I ever got in. But other than that, I don't want to be exposed like that. Try to stay undercover under the thing.
Is it true that you guys provided lowriders from some of the video directors?
Yeah.
How's that work?
We had only the hydraulic place in Compton called Compton Hydraulics. So people used to call up there and ask for low rider cars. Like, what's the dude named Batman? Little dude, Chris Stowe's boy, what's his name? Batman? Batman. The little dude, what's his name? Marcus Houston. He was my car before. He was in a little group. What was that little group called? Well, they were 3 little boys in before B2K. Marcus Houston was in. Yeah, they had a little group. They used my cars. But they used to call up to the shop, different actors and different people used to call up to the shop, get our low riders.
And then there's that famous, like, Usher.
Yeah, that's my 64, yeah. He was a little kid, about 14 years old. Usher. Usher was a little kid, about 14 years old. And they needed to use him and Purple needed to use in the car. Let him use it and shit. He was dancing all on the hood and shit. Like, damn, I can't believe when I seen the video what you were doing. You don't do low riders like that. Guess the East Coast don't know. They didn't know about that type of shit. Yeah.
I saw some footage of
That was my baby, like my wife,
Okay, doing that video?
I think
you know what I'm saying? My low riders,
Look it up.
So they fucked it up. What happened?
I had to go get the whole car repainted. The candy paint, candy brown, so they had to $4,000 paint job. They paint the whole car because you can't mix and match the sponsors.
So they paid for it.
Yeah. And little Usher was telling his mom, "Man, you buy this car. Can't buy my girl." You know what I'm saying? Not today.
So what happened? How did you know, how did we get to this point? Like, what? You opened up to the police about what happened today. I don't think we're comfortable talking. Like, at some point they cut off the. Why did you tell them what happened?
I was up against it. Definitely.
Are you comfortable talking about what they had on you?
Is that?
Are you comfortable talking about what they had on you?
Or is it drugs?
Yeah. As far as like, proof.
They was, the FBI don't come with us, they help you. They don't come with us, they help you. They send a guy from DC to get me. Form the task force. But I figured I was targeted behind all shit friends, they police and shit. So they was like kind of, we was fighting on real war. So the mayor, he was even with we sitting at a restaurant, sitting at IHOP, Temple Boulevard, and Alameda here. Motherfucker come in here, acting like you are, like you're a street motherfucker. Tripping mayor, you better be your mayor, you know what I'm saying? Coming here mad though, and he knew who the fuck we were, you know what I'm saying? You just want to show his boys, Out of the Compton police is to show his boys. The Wrights, Reggie, Junior and Senior. Yeah.
So, before that happened, before any of that happened, the Tupac murder was in '96. Did you ever feel like it was going to catch up with you?
Is that?
Did you ever feel like it was going to catch up with you? Like that people would come and talk to you about it?
Man, they had this, the FBI was on it from day one. It was on it from day one.
Tell me about the first time they talked to you about it. Was it '97?
Is that?
Tell me about the first time they talked to you about it.
Shit. They didn't talk to me till I went to the feds. 98. They never can catch up, caught up with me. Every time they raided my houses, I was never.
At that time, you didn't tell them anything.
Barking up the wrong tree. I was just, But they got all the bottom feeders. You know how they do. They get all the bottom feeders. All of them motherfuckers that sold me out. They kind of hurted me, So all I did was help them dudes out. Had they back, no matter what. This way the money, these pockets were right. Families were right. They sold me out. You know how the feds do. Get all the bottom feeders. Lead them up to the big men. Like you go down snowball down the hill. Every time you get caught, shit.
Just Mario.
Yeah, motherfucker.
Just Mario, the first note.
Did you talk to the cops in '98 said they're barking up the wrong tree. You thought you were done.
No. When I was in the feds, they came up there every month, making my life miserable hell.
And then, but at least you got, 12 years until they caught up with you, 2010 or whatever.
I was a little smart, I guess. But the dude said he was gonna give me promises. That motherfucker was so cold. His eyes was piercing. This fat dude named Holiday. That dude made my life a miserable hell. Living hell home. But ever since that night, seemed like dude stuck his head up my ass on me. You know what I'm saying? He's a special agent in charge of the major crime unit. Ever since that night, that dude been making my life miserable hell. I did 5.5. Motherfucker came up there at least 10 times. Told the warden, who you got up here? He's a serial killer. Like, oh, fuck. You know what I'm saying? For them rappers.
Well, what was your relationship with Puffy like? How did it evolve? Like you guys were cool, and then you hung out a lot together.
Now, when these people come to California, usually we meet up and have fun. I was a baller, man. In fact, I was doing better than him back then. Shit. Fun, man.
Did he ever talk about Suge? Did he ever talk about getting scared?
You fucked up. Is that?
I said, did he ever talk about Suge? Did he ever talk about being scared and all the bullshit, go back and forth, the East Coast, West Coast shit?
You talked about that till later on in our relationship.
That's right.
That's what I mean. Like, when did we get to that spot, that place where you guys were talking about that?
Me and my boy Zip was rolling up, we was going to the club one night, rolling up Green Lake in the neighborhood. Phone I guess they must have fucking played it. Something, I don't know. He's like, man, let me speak to Keepy. Got on the phone. What's up, dog? Like, man, I'm giving a concert out there. You want to tour on the West Coast? Asked me was think it's cool to come out there. I said, why it wouldn't be cool? He's like, the big CEO guy. CEO guy? He's like, yeah, the big guy. I knew what he's talking about. Like cold and shit. So I guess I was kind of scared of the guy. So we went to the Irvine Mills. It was something. Oh, concert. We had the hottest song out of the world. You know what I'm saying? Shit, that song was One More Chance. Boogie on the stage. Suge was right there. I came off the stage, he asked me, how you know that? Same way I know you. So after that, then after that, we went to the San Diego concert. Matter of fact, the Dallas Cowboys stayed in the same hotel we stayed in.
Good, he's down all the same details he did 10 years ago.
Amazing. All people all around it for the Dallas Cowboys. Ready for Troy Aikman. Saying, I don't know if we can get you in trouble or not, but the balls were all around the Then we went to the Anaheim. That was on Halloween night.
Perfect. Halloween.
Halloween night. Was cool there too.
And he just give you passes for everyone, like everyone would go concerts.
I just go get the tickets to the little homies. I was riding in the van. I was on the stage with them every time.
You get to hang out with Big E, obviously. Right?
Yeah, Big was cool. Cool dude and everything like that.
So when did Puffy start talking about, Suge on a real serious level. You back there? Yeah, we already established that. Yeah. Now, what'd you say? I said, when did he start talking about Suge, like, on a real serious level? Puffy. Oh, being scared of Suge? Well, like doing something more than that. I'm really comfortable talking about that right now. When you see me in that suit, you got me. Right? Okay. I'll be able to talk that out. So let's take a break. You can go smoke. Can you be back here in 10 minutes? Yeah. I want to get more before the 2 o'clock. Yeah. You got to give me to my wife. She did take me back. You know, I couldn't. I might have not been here. What do you mean? Do you want me to? I said I might have not been here. Of course, yeah. But she's not down. She's not down there with you. She's in the hotel. Yes. Oh, okay. I thought you meant like. Well, I got to take care of her. Yeah, of course. After lunch, we'll do a little more, and then you're done. Okay. All right. We'll go smoke break. That cool?
That's probably a really good breaking point.
Where are we at time-wise, so we can put that on record?
35 minutes, 17.7 seconds.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we're going to recess for the day. We're going to have you guys back at 9:30 a.m. on Monday. During this recess, you are admonished not to talk or converse amongst yourselves or with anyone else on any subject connected to the trial, or read, watch, or listen to any recorded or commentary on the trial of any person connected with this case by any medium of information, including without limitation, newspaper, television, the internet, and radio, or form or express any opinion on any subject connected with the trial until the case is submitted to you. Please rise for the jury, everyone. For the record, the jury has exited. Mr. Dorsey, you're coming back at 9:30 on Monday. Over the weekend, do not talk to anybody about the case. Do not discuss your testimony
He's
with
still
anyone.
on direct, so myself and Mr. Paul should be allowed to talk. I'm in the street talking to Mr. Shannon as well, but he's not on cross. So I think it's appropriate that we still talk.
What's the standard definition?
Well, I get that that's the standard practice usually between direct and cross, that the witness is not allowed to be or after the cross has started.
I disagree. You can talk to him about scheduling.
Okay.
All right.
I'll just recall.
Perfect. Which one? Were 149 and 152 admitted?
149 are both. The 149 is not in.
149 was not in. 152 is?
What is 152?
I don't think 152 is either.
Sorry, I just don't know.
Mr. Dorsey, no more excuse.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Yeah, no, that is.
All right. So the court is in recess until Monday. Yeah, so this was a long transcript that essentially used up most of the day, and they're going to continue this on Monday with the gentleman, Michael Dorsey, the filmmaker. Let me consult my notes here. So the thing of this was, I think that's most interesting to me, is this interview was potentially as late as July 2017. And so at this point, Keefe D had already told this story about his involvement in Tupac's murder a number of times, including at least twice before to law enforcement, where presumably he was telling the truth. However, by in his defense, his position is that he was trying to keep himself out of trouble and he was telling law enforcement whatever they wanted to hear, so they didn't prosecute him for a drug charge. Now, in this interview with the filmmakers, they're not law enforcement. So his position is that he was telling the story, but fictionalizing or allegedly fictionalizing or embellishing it in order for monetary gain, because then he would use this to go on various platforms, podcasts, TV appearances, and even write a book detailing this. Now, there's a couple questions, because let's see, Keefe D allegedly believed that there was a proffer. Now, people get caught up in this. Clearly, Keefe D did. A proffer is not immunity. It's not what that is. A proffer is an agreement whereby you make with law enforcement, and it provides specific protections and how they're going to use the information that you give them. It does not give you blanket immunity. That is not what happened. And so basically, whatever, and there's some discrepancy over what the terms of the proffer were, but regardless of what they were, it's for that conversation only. Whatever was covered in that proffer, it did not extend to Keefe D writing a book, going on various podcasts and platforms and retelling this story and this information. That was way outside the scope of it. So even if the proffer did protect him, it was only for those conversations. That's the important part there. So, that's a big mistake on his part if that's what he thought, that he was protected. So then that explains why his defense would be now that he wasn't telling the truth anytime he told the story, which, I mean, I could see him making a reasonable argument for that, being that he didn't tell the story until it was after his nephew, Orlando Anderson, was murdered. And he basically said that Orlando Anderson pulled the trigger, or not basically, he did say that. He said Orlando Anderson actually pulled the trigger, although he admitted to providing the gun and passing the gun to another individual who then was afraid to shoot and then pass it to Orlando Anderson. But Keefe D puts himself in the car, one of four individuals, and he is the only one who's still alive. So there's nobody else alive to contradict his story. He really could make up whatever, and there's no way of proving him wrong, given that there's no other eyewitnesses in the car still alive. What else was there from today? Oh, well, they touched on Greenblatt's Deli again, and we've heard about this, especially from the other two interviews, but this essentially is where Keefe D would meet up with Sean Puffy Combs, aka Diddy, but at that time period, he was known as Puff Daddy or Puffy. So Keefe D would meet up with Puffy there. Puffy was allegedly in fear of Suge Knight and was very intimidated by him. And on one of the occasions here, this is where the alleged conversation went down, where allegedly Puffy said something to the effect of offering $1 million if they would kill Tupac. And I'm not even sure if it was clear if it was Tupac or Suge, but sounded like Tupac. Oh, pardon me. Let me fix this. Oh, Steve, my producer is here. Fixed it for me. Look at that. Look at that. Thank you. I appreciate it. But I don't know if this has been raised, but this is a potential wrinkle, because it sounds like that, if I'm hearing this correctly, that Keefe D was saying that Sean Diddy Combs was afraid for Suge Knight. So was the $1 million bounty for them killing Suge or for Tupac, because it didn't say that Diddy was, in fear of Tupac. But if he was in fear of Suge, that makes more sense. However, Tupac was the intended target. And I mean, Suge did get grazed in the head, but as they're talking, he was not the intended target. It was Tupac. So that makes it a little strange. Just analyzing all of this, because, and this is my opinion. My opinion now is what this sounds like. If you were to take Keefe D at his word, and if Puffy did make the alleged statement about the $1 million bounty, it seems like it would have been for Suge. That's what I'm understanding this to be. However, the way things shook out, Keefe D, they went to Las Vegas to see the fight, the Mike Tyson fight, where Tupac happened to be. I believe Tupac walked Mike Tyson to the ring and performed his entrance song, which was really dope. I remember watching this, and this was awesome. Those are two of my favorite guys. Mike Tyson's my all-time favorite boxer, and Tupac, all-time favorite rapper. So that was cool. But anyway, then there's the altercation in the MGM Grand where Death Row members jump Orlando Anderson, and allegedly Tupac started it or threw the first punch. But then comes the plan for retaliation, where Tupac is the intended target. Now, that retaliation is for them jumping Orlando Anderson. It's different if this was a hit or a bounty that they wanted to be paid for, because there was a bounty on Tupac's head. There wouldn't have even necessarily had to have been the provocation. I mean, granted that if they knew there was money on his head and then this happened, that could have been the act that pushed him over the edge to say, all right, well, you know what, let's go do it now. But it sounds rather convenient, because this sounds like this was retaliation for that. It had nothing to do with the $1 million bounty. That's just the part to me that it seems a little sketchy, or like a convenient stretch in Keefe D's story. But who knows? I mean, who knows what part of it is true, if any of it, or maybe all of it is true. Who knows? Maybe Puffy really did want Tupac killed, but I'm not sure. It seems like, again, this is me speculating, but it seems like if Puffy was truly in fear of his life, I don't think that he viewed Tupac as a killer or somebody with the means to, have him taken out. However, it sounds like that was his view and other people's view of Suge Knight and his reputation. So that makes more sense if they had a bounty on Suge. But we'll see. I mean, the story, clearly is very interesting and allowed Keefe D to make a lot of money on it. But that also, if he is making it up, it also could explain why he was so bold telling it everywhere, because he really didn't think he could be prosecuted for it if it's not true. That's the other part, because what I think this case comes down to is the evidence that the state has. And as far as I know, the only solid evidence they have, and solid in quotes, is Keefe D's own statements, his own self-incriminating statements, where he's told the story and told his involvement and basically repeated what he said in the proffer agreement, which may or may not have been protected, but certainly was not protected after the proffer agreement ended, after those conversations ended. But just because he says he committed this crime doesn't mean he actually did. And, historically, there have been people who have claimed responsibility for a crime that they absolutely did not commit. So
crazy thought.
Yeah.
What if he took the stand, Keefe D specifically, and almost what you or I would consider be performatively a bad witness? Is there a way that could help their case? Would there be any precaution or judge ruling around, like, if he just came up as like, the sky is red, right is left, left is right.
Wait, you
I'm
mean
a white. I'm a white man.
he
Like
just
literally,
came up basically just trying to act like he was unstable or out of touch with reality,
just
or a complete lie?
I know he
or-
doesn't have to go as far as to say he's out of touch with reality, but he's like late 60s, early 70s.
Yeah, I think he's in his 60s.
He's at a point where if he already had senility, and I have no idea if he does, he could lean into the senility. And then, well, no, I guess no, that would be wrong because the statements were made prior to it. So he would need to do something where he is non-medically unreliable, where he just needs to be a liar. He needs to show up on the stand and everything he says is a proven lie.
I mean, that's one way to go about it. I think what would be more useful and beneficial is if he takes the stand and just says he lied about it and say that he wasn't in Las Vegas or he made the story up, because I mean, he does have incentive to lie, great incentive, because the times he told the story, law enforcement admitted that they had manufactured a case or a drug case against him. I don't know if they manufactured it, but they worked to get a case or get evidence to bring against him, basically as leverage to get him to talk about the Biggie Smalls case, which is interesting because it wasn't even the Tupac case. But in order to avoid prosecution for this drug charge, he said, well, we weren't responsible for that one, but let me tell you about this, the Tupac case. And just even hearing that, like that, it isn't wild to me that he would make that up, because given how much time had passed at that time and the fact that his nephew was already deceased, he could easily blame it on his nephew and say that he knows that his nephew pulled the trigger. And by it being a proffer, he believed that he was protected. So like strategically, I could see him, making that story up, fictionalizing that and going from there. Now, that being said, I think that if he got on the stand and admitted that I don't know, that might be kind of powerful, because the other part that I keep coming back to is I haven't heard any independent evidence that ties Keefe D to this, meaning I haven't heard any evidence that proves conclusively, objectively, that he was in Las Vegas. Like, there's a ton of security footage, but as far as I know, I haven't seen Keefe D in any of it. But if there were footage that Keefe D was in Las Vegas, indeed at the MGM, a ticket stub, something, a receipt, that would be powerful. That would put him there. If they, I don't know, somehow were able to tie him to the car, that would be powerful as well. But there doesn't appear to be anything like that. However, in the transcript that I heard yesterday, like he says what hotel he was staying at. And I believe the room was it may have been in his wife's name or his mother-in-law's name, or the car is in somebody else's mother-in-law's name. But all of this stuff could be verified. Now, somebody, I hope, not somebody, the state, I hope that they've gone through the trouble to verify this. If they haven't, you guys happen to be, observing YouTube videos that you're probably not supposed to, well, not the jury, but the state, hey, we give you a piece of advice. Have an investigator go track this down right now. Contact MGM or whatever hotel Keefe D said that he was staying at on the transcript from yesterday in the interviews. Go check the records as far back as you can to 1996. See if on September 7th, 1996, on or around there, was Keefe D or his wife or anybody, did anybody register for a room there? Or, and I'm certain the videos probably have since been erased, except for the ones that directly had Tupac in it or, anybody nearby. But I would see if there's any other footage available and if Keefe D is visible on any of that. Or I don't know if anything was paid with a credit card, try to check the receipts for those names, because Keefe D says his wife was with him. But is there anything that corroborates his story? Because right now it's just a story. And so do I think Keefe D will take the stand? Probably not. Probably not. But you never know, because I don't know. If I was the defense attorney, I don't know. I normally would not have my client take the stand, but in this case, it might be valuable for him to just get up there and say that he made it up. Because how would the state refute that? Like, even on cross-examination, how would they
Well,
refute that?
It does it devalues him as a witness overall, and his statements are the only source.
Right.
But I guess I'm thinking it's a very heady thing, because it then just makes him slightly unreliable, because then they can say, like, well, actually, you are a liar. You're lying about lying. You weren't lying then. And here's our evidence. And then you still have the opportunity to turn it back to their evidence.
But what's the evidence that he wasn't lying?
Yeah.
That's my point, is that they need to have solid evidence that would prove that verified some part of his story. If you have some solid evidence that verified this, then that makes it really hard for him to say, no, I was lying about that then, because there's nothing. And also, it's been 30 years. The only reason he's on trial right now are because of his statements that he's made in documentaries and in his book and all that, which clearly was made for profit. And again, I'm not on Keefe D's side here. I'm not on anybody's side. But if I was on anybody's side, I'm on the side of justice. And hey, Tupac was my favorite rapper. I was hurt when he died, devastated. So I would like to see justice for him. But I want it to be the right person who receives justice. And I don't know if it's Keefe D. I really don't. I've been asking myself this, because his story is extremely plausible and it fits. And there's no better explanation out there presently that I'm aware of than this one, than his story. His story makes sense. It does seem like it adds up and very likely could have happened. However, that being the case, why hasn't anybody tried to verify this? That's why I don't understand. Was it just not a priority? Or, I mean, we've heard the rumors, which apparently weren't rumors, but there may have been police involvement within this, or some kind of shady dealings or something that they didn't want to come out, that they didn't want this to be publicized. And that's why the case files have moved around or had to be hidden, even stolen to allegedly preserve them. There's a ton going on with this, but it'll be interesting to see. It'll be really interesting to see what evidence the defense presents too. However, we're still on the state, and I'm curious to see what else the prosecution has, because I'm hoping they have some evidence that can verify at least part of Keefe D's story. Because if they're able to do that, Keefe D might be in some real trouble, because then that adds credence. That's all you need, is you need to add credence to his story. And if you have something that, verifies it, oh yeah, he's cooked. But because the reality is, outside of having any evidence to verify it, he might still be cooked. He might be, because they're his own statements, his own words. People presume that he was telling the truth, and it fits. It's plausible. It's not like his story is unreasonable or unrealistic. Like, it sounds like this is probably what happened. But knowing something and proving it in a court of law are two different things. And that's what this comes down to.
Angelica brings up an interesting point, and I say interesting point because I would love to hear a lawyer's take on this, which is, have they ever put him under a lie detector test, even if it's not reliable source of the truth or admissible in court? And I guess I want to hear a lawyer talk about lie detector tests and why they're not admissible in court.
Well, because they're not 100% reliable, and people can beat lie detector tests, and like they might help, but really they're not scientifically 100% reliable. Have they ever put Keefe D under a lie detector test? Not that I know of. But the other thing is, they believed he was telling the truth, and then the lie detector was going to be that if he ever had to go and testify in court, because he was a criminal informant. And, I believe, was he a paid informant? I don't know. Well, anyway, no, but he was listed as a criminal informant. So he would presumably have to testify under oath that what he said was true. However, it hasn't come to that point. He hasn't had to be under oath, as far as I know, and tell his story. Which now that would be interesting too. Just even think about that. If he does take the stand, he's now under oath up there, and if he lies or is proven to be lying, that would be perjury. He could perjure himself. So, but yeah, as far as a lie detector test, I don't believe that he's ever submitted to one in relation to this case. Not that I know of. Yeah. We have any other questions? Let's see. I'm going to choose some. Choose this one here. Let's see what this says. And Suge said he didn't even work for him. Oh, who are we talking about? Is this Mob James? Yeah. Where's the Cadillac? I think the Cadillac was rented. I believe they said. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, it was rented by the mother-in-law of one of the people in the Cadillac, one of the other passengers, if I'm not mistaken. Not sure who it was, but I believe they said that yesterday. Where are we? Oh, let's see. Have there? Yeah, this one here too. No other witnesses have said there were girls screaming Tupac, Tupac, and Tupac's cousin Jamila Lassane said everyone didn't get there until Saturday. Keefe D said they saw each other Friday. Well, that doesn't add up. But yes, one of the women who was in the car speaking to Tupac and that pulled up and that was following, she said Tupac was not leaning out the window as Keefe D described, which now see, that stuck out to me also because in hearing the story before with Tupac saying that seemed plausible too, because you see videos of Tupac doing that. Like, he would lean out the window while somebody else was driving and I don't know, call attention to himself or whatever, but you could see him, if girls are screaming his name, Tupac leaning out the window saying, "Hey, come follow us," or whatever. Like that seems legitimate. However, that doesn't necessarily mean that happened, because now I'm thinking about that. Why do I think that's legitimate? Well, because I've seen, video footage of Tupac doing similar things before. And so I assume that could be the truth. However, that also means that Keefe D has likely seen the same footage and put that in his story. But you have the eyewitness, the lady from one of the ladies from the car who testified that actually that did not happen. That they recognized him, but and they had a conversation, but Tupac was not leaning out of the passenger side of the car. Yes, this is what I was getting at also. Still waiting on evidence that Keefe was in Vegas at all. On the most heavily surveilled night of the year, the most heavily surveilled city, nothing. Why doesn't the prosecution call Foxy Brown? Oh, interesting. Yeah, maybe they will. Because I didn't know about this until I heard the testimony yesterday, but Foxy Brown was allegedly there with them, which is interesting also because she was an East Coast artist at that time. And, but then again, if I'm remembering, I believe she was dating Corrupt, or that they had a relationship. So that now actually that makes sense. But yeah, they should absolutely call her. That's a great point. Great point. We have Keefe's now. No follow up. Yeah. What's this? The gun. He later admitted to tossing it. Wait. In the Bahamas for Suge, Mob James said he worked at Club 662. He didn't. Original police statement said that he was in the caravan. Now he was at the club. Yeah, that didn't add up either. Mob James' statement definitely didn't add up. I don't know. He's another one that's done, quite a bit of interviews or, podcasts. So, I mean, you got to question that too. This one here. I didn't know he and Suge grew up in middle class with dads and they went to UCLA, UNLV. These fools took themselves out of the chance for a good life without death and destruction. What a waste. Yeah, I didn't realize that Keefe D and Suge grew up playing football together and were on the same team. And Suge's dad was the coach. That's wild. It's like this really is, this is a small neighborhood dispute. Like I didn't realize that this was kind of inside in that this was a very personal dispute. And it for the way the media covered it, it initially was framed as this could have been random or people didn't know who was involved. No, it's very clear that the two sides knew each other very well and very well knew who was involved, which also explains why nobody wanted to talk to law enforcement and wanted to handle this in by other means, presumably.
So I know we haven't seen all of the state's evidence yet, but of the state's evidence you've seen so far, do you think they have or they're on the path to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he committed this crime?
It's hard to say. So far, the strongest evidence has just been Keefe D's own words and his own statements. That's the strongest. I'm not sure if, like I said, if they have evidence that verifies that, then it's really strong. But outside of that, I don't know. There could be reasonable doubt. Like I'm not convinced yet. As attorney, I don't think the state has proven their burden yet. I don't think so. But again, we're 1 week into this, or 5 days into this, and so it'll be interesting to see what else they have, what else they present, who the other witnesses are. Because if you ask me again at the end of next week, I might have a different answer. I might, we might uncover something or have some testimony this next week where I say, oh, okay, now I feel like they've met their burden. And, it's going to be difficult for the defense. It's still going to be difficult for the defense either way. But I think right now the defense is in a good position, to poke more holes and show reasonable doubt. Because also, I think the defense was doing a good job at raising the potential conspiracy theories that have dominated the internet for years, since this happened. And by leaning into that, because some of them sound plausible as well. Not as plausible as Keefe D's story, but Reggie Wright Jr. being responsible or tied into this somehow is a strong one. And there's a lot of strange stuff that went on and, around him. And that night in particular, where, Reggie Wright Jr., his father, Reggie Wright Sr., was a Compton police officer. And then also Reggie Wright Jr., being part of death row and hiring off-duty police officers as security, but then allegedly not allowing the security to carry guns that one particular night, which suggests that he knew what was going to happen and he wanted to make sure that, Tupac was not protected by any security guards with firearms who could return fire. And the fact that, Tupac's own security guard, his personal one, Frank Alexander, stated that for whatever reason, he was not allowed to ride with Tupac that night. And that was out of the ordinary. So there's a number of things that set Tupac up to be vulnerable to being shot. And that is what happened. And Reggie Wright Jr. was not in the caravan of people not with Tupac or Suge. He was already at the club at 662, which that could be explained also. He was there preparing. However, it's convenient if shots were going to be fired that he was not there and he was protected. And then you have the other bodyguard who was assigned to Tupac that night, Kevin Hackney, who just for whatever reason didn't show up. The one night he's supposed to be there, the one night to not show up, Tupac gets shot. But he could have potentially been shot too if he was riding with him. But as Frank Alexander said, they weren't allowed to ride with him. But he's still alive as far as I know. So I'm hoping that the prosecution will call him, or that he's called as a witness, because I would like to hear from him. Hey, what happened that night? Like, were you sick? Because I think Reggie testified that he didn't call in, he didn't call out and say he was sick. He just didn't show up. So what's the story with that? And there was, a number of other fishy things, like the walkie-talkies they had or something. I think Frank Alexander's didn't have battery, and so he didn't have any communication. Just a lot of strange coincidences and stuff around that. But back to what I was saying, I think that is a clever strategy for the defense, because that provides reasonable doubt. And for people who have always suspected that, it's like scratching a 30-year itch. Because now, like for me watching this, it's like, yeah, I'm glad they're asking Reggie about this. I've always wondered this. And now here he is. He was my favorite witness just because of the things that they asked him. We finally got to hear from him under oath about this, which I thought was really interesting. But from the defense standpoint, that could really help prove some reasonable doubt. Yeah. What other questions do we have? Wait, Frank said Reggie.
I'm seeing this one from Volstar the Maggie 3589, where is there a witness list? Like, is there a way we would know who the state is going to call in the next however many days?
There is a witness list. However, I haven't seen it. I don't know if it's been released to the public, but the attorneys would know. Both sides would know who the other witnesses or potential witnesses are that could be called. But I haven't seen it. But that's it would be interesting if we could get our hands on that and see what that's going to look like. Yeah. But
so Banga in the chat is saying that the bodyguards are dead.
Yeah. Who, I'm not sure who Michael is. Kevin is the guy's name. Kevin Hackney. One of them is still around. But yes, Frank Alexander died mysteriously because he was found dead, and then it was ruled an apparent suicide. However, there's a theory around that too, is that he was killed, and it was not a suicide, but he was killed to cover this up. Because, and the more that you look into this case, if you're aware of it, it has been 30 years, but a number of the people involved in it are no longer with us, are deceased. And could it be related to this incident? Perhaps. Or could it be related to other things? Yes. Could just be coincidence? Yes, that too. However, it's a large number of people, which kind of makes you wonder. It's like Frank Alexander, security guard, like as far as I know, I don't think he was caught up in the streets or gang culture that much. I don't know. But from what I've heard, it doesn't seem like that. I mean, the other three individuals in the Cadillac, yeah, even Keefe D said that Orlando Anderson was killed in an unrelated incident. Actually, he was killed by another Crip. So it wasn't retaliation for the Tupac killing, or at least that's what Keefe D said. But again, is he lying now, or was he lying then? I don't know if we can even take what Keefe D said as truthful.
So I looked into it. the witness list, according to, what is this? Fox 5? Fox 5 Las Vegas.
What do they have?
Okay, I have to remove yours. There it goes. So it's 200 people. They didn't release all 200, but prosecution is saying Suge Knight is on the witness list. And because he's in the middle of a 28-year prison sentence, he's saying, well, though, interesting. And this is Fox 5 saying that 1,000% wouldn't go. Knight said, I wouldn't testify, none of that. But that was in 2023 in an interview with TMZ. Once again, they put out a 200-person witness list, and Suge Knight's on that list, according to Fox 5. Actually, question for you. If you're on a 28-year prison sentence in California and they want you to serve as a witness in Nevada, do you have a choice?
I'm pretty sure you're probably going to have to go. Now, how cooperative you are, that's another thing entirely. And then that begs the question, how bad does each side need you there? Because Suge Knight could be a very powerful witness, depending on what he would share. But, he's very publicly stated that he is not planning to cooperate. That would be interesting. But I don't know. I kind of get the feeling he might show up. He might have to be there. Which would be great TV. I hope. I would like to hear what he says, even if he doesn't share that much. I would still like to hear it.
So Fox 5 it's 11 pages with 200 names on it. Fox 5 has access to it. Prosecution obviously had access to it. We don't have access to it.
Right.
So we only go by what's being reported on the list. Several motions for remote testimony, which we've seen a lot of this week. Among them is a lead homicide detective who investigated the case, but now lives out of state. I believe we saw him
Greg
Tuesday.
Kading.
Yeah.
Oh, you think so? Oh, no, I don't know. I think that could be Greg Kading. I wonder who, was like the big one to really break all this open and who allegedly stole the files. I'm assuming that they would call him. They'd probably save him for near the end. He'd be very powerful witness.
Right. Other witnesses include former mayor of Las Vegas, Oscar Goodman, who I've met on multiple occasions. Humble brag. Joe Lombardo, member of Shakur's family. Yusef Jah, who co-authored the book with Davis called Compton Street Legend. I actually want to point that out.
That's a big one. Now, I'm assuming that he's being called by the defense. If he's called by the defense and he gets up there and he says, wait, that's interesting. But okay, but if he's called by the defense and he gets up there and he says, no, I actually wrote the book, it's fictional, and we made up Keefe D's part, then that's powerful. That's powerful. However, if he says, no, this is what Keefe D told me, I didn't make any of this up, he wrote that part entirely himself, or I wrote it based off of exactly what he said, then that is not good for the defense.
Okay, I just had to check. So when there's a witness list, this is the witness list for both the prosecution and the defense?
Yes.
Okay.
I believe so.
Just clarifying that. So, well, I think if the prosecution is calling them to the stand, if the prosecution is calling this author to the stand, which we don't know yet, I think that's terrible for Keefe D. To your point, that if the defense, if prosecution doesn't call him to the stand, but defense does,
yeah, then that'll tell us everything. That's the thing, is if that comes down to strategy though, and what he knows, because I would imagine that Yusef Jah and Keefe D probably get along, or I would imagine Yusef Jah would try to help Keefe D. I don't know, but I'm thinking, unless they had a falling out, I'm thinking that he probably would. So whatever he's going to say is probably beneficial to the defense. Now, if in that scenario, does the prosecution wait for the defense to call him, or do they try to get ahead of it by calling him themselves as an adverse witness? Because that might look more powerful to the jury. But I don't know, because I don't know what he's going to say. But then if the prosecution calls him, maybe he's not going to be so helpful for the defense, or maybe he and KPD don't have such a great relationship. Maybe there was a dispute over money or something. I don't know. Maybe they've had a falling out.
So,
Or maybe maybe this guy is just going to tell the truth, and maybe the truth doesn't comport with Keefe D's position now.
so let's say he's an author for hire. So when you say as an author for hire, somebody says, I have a story. Here's the story. I need you to help me put that story into a book.
Yeah.
And he does just enough work. Like, he's not a forensic investigator. Like, he's not it's not, from that point, his job isn't to thoroughly vet this person's story to the point that it handles all legal scrutiny. His job is to write a book.
Right. So he would just go by whatever the story was. I wouldn't see any reason for him to independently verify what Keefe D told him. If the point is they want to make money. So his incentive is kind of the same as Keefe D's. And actually, he might have an incentive to exaggerate things,
right?
To make it, make it more cinematic, or to make it sell more. You never know, because what he could say is, yeah, I took Keefe D's story and I, altered it or exaggerated it, to make it sell more books, to make people like it more, to make it more salacious. He might say that, which would make sense, because he's in business to make money. They didn't create the book to be scrutinized in court.
True. And I also wonder, how damning would it be if the prosecution calls him to the stand, and then they ask him, what was the process like writing the book? How did you meet him? When he told you this, did you investigate it? Absolutely not. When he told you this, did you investigate it? Absolutely not. Did you believe Keefe D when he told you? No, not even a little. Like, there's a way this could be good for Keefe D.
Yeah.
That the author comes up and says, I mean, I'm a human typewriter in this way. I'm just a vessel for his story. He had multiple interviews with me where he told me that's how it happened, and then I rewrote it in his voice.
Right.
Similar to how he presented his story to me. And outside of anything glaringly obvious, I just put those words to a page and then sold the book.
And I think that's probably pretty close to what's going to happen. I would be surprised if his testimony was anything that varied from that dramatically, but I would assume that's what it's going to be. And so I don't even know if he has anything that's too powerful for the state, because whatever he does have that helps the state, I think the defense is going to be able to elicit that testimony from him nearly exactly, in that the author took what Keefe D told him and just wrote it down, because he would have no reason to investigate this. He would have no reason to go back and try and disprove. In fact, that would be counterproductive for what he's trying to do. If he did go back and find out, hey, Keefe D, your story doesn't quite line up, no, that's not going to be as good of a story for him for what he's trying to do. So that would be counterproductive for his goal in making money. That being said, you never know. The prosecution might be able to, I don't know, glean something helpful from him. Who knows?
One last thing on the author. Let's say the testimony is not that. So let's say prosecution doesn't call him. Mm-hmm. Defense calls the author. And in the testimony, the author says, yeah, we met up. And Keefe D told me, bro, I have a lie for you that we could sell a bunch of books about.
Now that would be really strong for the defense. That'd be really strong. If he got up there and said that, I don't think the defense even needs to call Keefe D to the stand. Clearly, I mean, that would be really powerful. That right there would create reasonable doubt. a lot of it. If I was on the jury, yeah, because then that calls into question his whole story. And then assuming the prosecution doesn't, present any evidence that actually verifies any part of the story, all you have is that story. And now you have the author saying that Keefe D told him it was a lie. And so they intentionally made up a fictional story together. That would be powerful for the defense. Yeah.
I would also like to add that in the event that happens, that's just going to be another layer to the onion that is the conspiracy theories around this case altogether.
Yeah.
That if all of a sudden the author, who in multiple interviews said, no, that's what he told me, takes the stand and says, nah, he told me he was lying. He told me he was lying. We're all just trying to make some money writing a book.
Yeah.
Like we would all like the conspiracy theory, because in the court of law, like there's a chance that the case just gets dismissed and prosecution looks pretty bad. Because I'm sure if he's on the witness list, there's a good chance he's been depositioned.
That's what I was going to say. It's pretty safe to say the prosecution, both sides, have an idea of what he's going to testify to pretty good and are preparing for that. Now, that being said, if he was going to say something like that bold, that, Keefe D came and told him, hey, bro, I have an outright lie. We can make some money. If that were the case, I don't know. The prosecution, they would have to be aware of that and, be able to appreciate the consequences of that and what that would mean for trial. And I would assume then that they have something to combat that, or they would be well prepared in advance of knowing that that's his planned testimony. I would assume so, because if they know that that is coming and they have no answer for that, I don't know why they're even continuing on with the case, or if they're hoping that, which I also think too is, I hope this isn't the case, but they're putting a lot of faith into those statements and multiple documentaries and multiple times that Keefe D has said and claimed responsibility for his involvement here. But that, none of that was in a court of law. So this is different. Like I said, it depends on what you know versus what you can prove in court.
Let's just kind of run down this list a little more. Suge Knight we talked about. And somebody did ask what would happen if Suge Knight took the stand and said he didn't see Keefe D in the car. I don't know if that's a case dismissed, but that's pretty bad.
Yeah. However, not necessarily, because Suge was being shot at, and there's somebody who is sitting between. There's the driver of the car and Tupac, so Suge would have had to look over into the next car, but there's two people sitting in between him. Not to mention somebody's also firing a gun into the car. And actually, I think the front part of the car might have been up a little bit. However, Keefe D said in his statement, one of his statements, that he and Suge made eye contact. But I don't. Again, we can't validate that, and I don't know if that's even true. But assuming Suge said that, yeah, no, that's not an automatic case dismissal. But I mean, it would help the defense. I'm sure the defense would bring that up over and over. Oscar Goodman, the mayor of Las Vegas, worked as a defense attorney. All right.
Other than being mayor at the time,
his son Ross Goodman, also an attorney, previously appeared in court alongside Davis, but was not officially retained. Huh. Okay. Interesting.
David Chestnut, a law partner of Oscar Goodman's, was also listed. I'm texting around to see if we think he's actually going to appear on the stand. Other than being the mayor at the time of the incident, I don't know what information he can really provide as it pertains to Keefe D specifically.
I'm wondering that too. And Yeah, a law partner of Goodman's. Like I'm Ross Goodman, his son, also an attorney, previously appeared in court alongside Davis. So what was he there for? But he was not officially retained. I'm not even sure what he'd be able to say. Huh.
Governor Joe Lombardo. He was the sheriff of the department from 15 to 23. But what was he? Why would we need Governor Joe Lombardo?
I have no idea.
Like that's
Yeah.
he Joe Lombardo and Oscar Goodman are two people whose professions danced around this case enough, this timeline enough that like I don't know, like if we were investigating the shooting of Tupac Shakur, I'd love to talk to both of these people.
Right. Also, this witness list is they're going to have everybody who's a potential witness. This doesn't mean this is everybody they're absolutely planning on calling.
So we have Reggie Wright Jr. on the witness list.
Yeah. Yeah. And Keefe D said that, right? Wait. Davis, we're talking about Keefe D, said that Wright was the man who organized the hit. Is that accurate? I don't know. I don't know about that.
8newsnow.com, Channel 8 in Las Vegas. Who's saying it? I'm not.
They said that Davis, and unless there's another Davis, Keefe D's last name is Davis, that Davis said that Wright was the man who organized the hit on Tupac.
But isn't the whole crux of this trial that Keefe D ordered the hit on Tupac?
Right.
Like,
right.
If Davis ordered the hit on Tupac, what is Keefe D on trial for?
Right.
Or sorry, the other way. If Reggie Wright ordered it.
No, yeah. I mean,
our chat's saying us that he did, but I'm curious, did Reggie Wright order? Did Reggie? I don't know. We'll get into it next week, but I think.
Well, I mean, on the one hand, if Keefe D said that, I mean, that would implicate Reggie Wright as being part of it. But then Keefe D's story, as I'm understanding it now, is that he wasn't even in Las Vegas and he wasn't. I mean, he needs to say it himself, but from his defense attorney, this is what I'm understanding, is that his position says that he wasn't part of this.
He said that once there was a case.
Orchestrated the hit later once he got tied up in the case. Oh, okay.
So Keefe D has said in public after there was a book.
So meaning that after Keefe D got tied up in the case, meaning Keefe D, I'm assuming now that Keefe D is saying that he was lying about his involvement. He was not involved, and the real person who set it up was Reggie Wright Jr.
Right.
That makes sense.
And Reggie Wright Jr. is very likely to take the stand, I'd say.
Oh, he did. He did.
Oh, he's already taken it. Sorry.
Yeah. He did. And he I don't know. He did not, he came across as evasive a little bit, or not all of his answers seemed exactly right to me. Some of them seemed a little fishy, but you never know.
I will say here, do not expect Oscar Goodman on the stand, is what I'll say.
And he's 87.
He's 87 years old.
All right.
Several members of the family, which we're covering this trial. So like after there's a verdict, I would like to talk about what's next if Keefe D's found guilty when it comes civilly.
Mm-hmm.
But that's for a later time. Documentarians: Richard Bond, Mario Diaz, Mike Dorsey.
Mike Dorsey was the guy on the stand now. And okay, so Mario Diaz, that's the other guy that he was speaking to, who was actually conducting the interview that we were listening to the transcript of.
And Kirk Burroughs, who is the founder of Bad Boy Records, Paula Clemens, who is Keefe D. Davis's wife, who he's claiming, or the state is claiming, that he was staying at the MGM Grand under her name. Or I don't know if they named a hotel.
They said it yesterday. I think I have it in my notes. I was listening to it while I was at the gym.
Of course.
And I was trying to take notes too, but it was because it was long. And they said the hotel, or was it the Monte Carlo? It might have been the Monte Carlo they were staying at. I think they were staying at the Monte Carlo, not the MGM Grand. And he said it was his wife, but then I feel like he said that he said it was like comps or something. So because they asked who paid
Right.
for it, he got around that a little bit. Yeah,
That makes sense too. I had to Google it to be sure, but the Monte Carlo is now the Park MGM geographically. So
Okay.
Park MGM is just across the street from MGM. So that that tracks if everybody was there for a Tyson fight at the MGM Grand.
because then he said like after the incident or the fight with Orlando that they went back, I'm pretty sure, to the Monte Carlo to drop off the ladies, and then pretty sure that's when they got the gun and got in the cars. He was initially in a white van.
And this is what Keefe D claimed in a book that he's now fighting so that he doesn't go to prison.
Right. This one is interesting. The next name, Gene Deal, Diddy's bodyguard. Now, he's done just as many interviews, probably more than Keefe D. He's always on The Art of Dialogue. I believe he's been on Vlad TV. Very familiar with him. And now he seems to have some kind of inside information, but I'm not sure what all information he has. I think he would more speak to the alleged arrangement of Diddy paying, or allegedly offering the bounty. I don't know though, but I'm assuming that's what he would speak to. I think he was there the night that Biggie was killed. Oh, this is another interesting part too. If people aren't as versed on this as I happen to be, but for the Biggie Smalls killing, that happened at the Peterson Automotive Museum here in Los Angeles, where he was having an album release party for his album Life After Death. And Keefe D was there at that party. So I think there is surveillance footage or photos. So that at least establishes that he was he was at a Bad Boy event. Okay. So it does add some credence to the fact that he did know Puffy, Diddy, and the bounty may have been, I don't know, may or may not have been legitimate, but he at least was in proximity. And I'm assuming this was invite only, and he was there, according to what I've heard.
It was March 8th, 1997. It was the Vibe magazine party hosted at the Peterson Automotive Museum.
Yep.
And then he stated in police interviews and recordings that he saw Biggie multiple times inside the party and out near the stairwells. Fire department shut down the party early, causing guests, including Biggie, to exit the parking lot where the fatal shooting occurred. I've been to many events here. I didn't realize that parking lot was this.
Yeah, it was actually right outside. Like they have video footage of it actually, where you can hear it. People took like home movies.
And then obviously he's maintained he has nothing to do with the murder.
Yeah, that's how they found Keefe D, was because they've said that the shooter's car was a Chevrolet Impala, and Keefe D owned an Impala and was at the party. So that's apparently why they brought him in for questioning, and then got the drugs on him or whatever. And then that's when he said, no, we weren't responsible for that one.
Oof.
But let me tell you about this other one.
So a couple things from our chat I should just bring up. Vols, in a 98 interview, Keefe D blamed corrupt cops for Tupac, but did not name Reggie directly.
Huh. Okay.
So if that interview exists, it would be worth pointing out. It's like, oh, so in 98 you said it was corrupt cops, but in 2019 all of a sudden you want to write a book and say it was you.
Yeah.
Like that at a minimum, like I think that helps the defense.
The defense may play that. Because it seems like that's the defense's strategy too, is to potentially or point to the possibility of Reggie Wright Jr. being involved, which again, I think is smart because they don't even have to prove that happened, but the fact that it's possible, that's reasonable doubt.
And then Obanga in in our chat as well. There's a lot of inconsistency in the Keefy D recordings and interviews. One of them saying Snoop, Suge, and Tupac arrived in Vegas on a Friday when they arrived on a Saturday.
Yeah.
Like, I think there's a lot. I haven't seen as much of this trial as you, but I honestly, truly think the defense can swing a jury here and get him off of this.
So far, I think they can too. But also, if I'm not mistaken, just because I've followed this for so long, I was under the impression that Snoop didn't travel to Vegas with them. I was under the impression he stayed in California. I may be wrong, but I know at least by one or two accounts, that's what I heard. So if Keefy D was saying that and Snoop actually wasn't there.
Yeah,
then,
no.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's again,
Snoop Dogg was not in Las Vegas. Yeah.
So if you could find anything, whether it's in the book or in an interview prior to the book, where Keefy D is like, nah, it was Snoop Dogg. It was Snoop Dogg, Tupac Shakur, and Suge Knight. They were all in a Chevy Impala, and they arrived on Friday, September 6th.
Yeah, that helps. Actually, he said it. I don't know if it was in the transcript today or yesterday. It might have been today, but he said, I think it was today. But he said how Death Row. He said Suge, Tupac, and Snoop rolled up in Rolls Royces. I think it was red, black, and white, maybe. And then Mike Tyson and his entourage rolled up in Bentleys. But yeah, I think he said that today.
Right. But if you name that much, but by naming that many details, if your goal is to now discredit the defendant to get him off of murder, you just got to prove some of those details wrong.
Right. And I think that does, by him saying he saw them on Friday and the way he said it, he sounded sure of it in the interview that I heard.
Right.
Okay. Well, that now shows, hey, that's not accurate. Like, you're making this up.
Because people on R Tupac, which are you a moderator yet? I don't know. Are you close?
Wait, am I a moderator?
On R Tupac, it's a subreddit. It's a subreddit about probably the Tupac trial. Hopefully, it's about Tupac Shakur in general. But my guess is that it's a subreddit just about the Tupac trial.
Oh, I'm not on Reddit much. I should go on.
But there's a consensus among users that Snoop's absence that night has often been a part of various unverified timeline speculations and rumors regarding the fractured relationship, and that he could have known there was a hit, and that's why he didn't go.
That's how I knew about it. Yeah, was allegedly Tupac, again, allegedly, as the story goes, as I remember it, but Tupac and Snoop had a falling out because of the East Coast, West Coast thing. And Snoop actually didn't really have a problem with the East Coast guys. And he went on, was it Hot 97? He went on a New York radio show and kind of said that he didn't have a beef. And Tupac was mad about that. And, he felt like Snoop wasn't being loyal to Death Row. And so, again, this is the story as I understood it, or, it was told. And that they had a falling out over it. And so Snoop didn't go to Las Vegas with them. Now, that could be interpreted a number of ways. There are conspiracy theories that Snoop might have heard what was going to happen. But I don't know. I mean, it does say, or it's been reported that the day after the shooting that Snoop did come out there, like, to check on him and everything, which, I mean, I don't know, shows concern. But yeah, I'm familiar with that and those storylines.
I mean, well, that second part that he drove out to Las Vegas upon hearing the news, that doesn't disprove or prove a conspiracy theory.
Yeah, because it really doesn't. Because if he had something to do with it, yeah, you go out the next day to show, remorse.
Like if you and I were both invited to AAA at the MGM Grand on September 11th, and then I find out a couple days before that something bad's going to happen to you and I'm not allowed to talk about it, and I don't go, I suddenly don't go. But then when it happens, if something bad happens, I turn up to Las Vegas immediately. That doesn't disprove I didn't know.
Right.
If anything, that reinforces that when I heard, I then made the plan of like, well, I'm not going to be there. And when I find out about it, I'm going to run out there immediately to make it look like.
Steve, now if you get any information, you better let me know.
I'm gonna let you know.
Something doesn't look good for me. Hey, bro, we need a code or something. Don't go to that one. Maybe you should stay home. Maybe you should do this one remote.
Maybe, well, if it's
God
gonna be
forbid.
AAA, if it's gonna be
I'm not with
AAA
it.
in Las Vegas, I'll say maybe you should go to the Mexico show. Because
Yeah,
it's one
yeah,
night,
yeah.
one night's in Las Vegas, the other night's in Mexico City. Like, I don't know, man. Maybe you should go to Mexico City.
Yeah. All right. I have to pay attention. Any advice you give me like that, because you're in the know. Somehow you know the mayor of Las Vegas. So I'm not even. I don't even know. I don't even want to ask about that. And you know that he's probably not taking the stand. And I caught that. You're like, I'm texting around now to hear what the scoop is on this. I caught it.
Well, now I feel the need to be on camera and just mention, I'd stay loyal. I'd stay loyal, but if you follow the conspiracy theory around Snoop, from his perspective, there's nothing he could do except not be in a car and not be in a car that's going to get showered with bullets.
Right.
But I have a feeling we're going to get invited to AAA now. And we're both going to be real weird about it.
I'm not. Yeah. Hey, sorry, guys.
You're not going.
Thanks, but no thanks. I think I got something that day, whatever it is. But if Snoop were to know about this beforehand, again, this is all alleged because I don't think that he did. I don't want to put that on Snoop. But if you go by this story, that would assume then that who would have told him? Or how would he have found out about this? So this was planned beforehand, and that would kind of invalidate Keefe D's story.
Right.
Because Keefe D's story. This is what I was getting. I think this might have been before you got on, but he talks about that Puffy put the bounty on Tupac, but it actually sounds like he put it on Suge to me. But then in Keefe D's story, that wasn't the reason they were there. They weren't actively looking to kill Tupac, but this was in retaliation for Orlando Anderson, his nephew, being jumped. So once his nephew got jumped, they wanted revenge. They wanted immediate retaliation. And then also there allegedly happened to be this bounty. So they said, hey, all right, well, this is the perfect time to do that then. But that being said, it wasn't planned beforehand. It was more a spur of the moment reaction to the fight that they didn't know was going to happen, because there's no way of knowing that Tupac was going to be told Orlando Anderson is there and he was going to go up and, jump him. Because then, okay, you can get in the conspiracy theory. Well, somebody from Death Row told Tupac, hey, the guy who snatched my chain is here. But then you would have to know that Tupac was going to go and then try to jump him, unless you hear testimony that guy encouraged Tupac, hey, go jump him, go smack that guy up, go get my chain back or whatever. But that's asking a lot. But then Tupac goes and does that. However, if they were trying to set him up, actually, kind of makes sense. The board. All right, hold on. My tinfoil hat is firmly in place now. So you have somebody, set him up by saying, yeah, okay, this is the guy who snatched my chain. They go tell Tupac. So you get, knowing Tupac's a hothead, you get him to at least confront the guy on camera at MGM where everybody could see. And the fact that Tupac actually threw a punch, or I don't know if he started it. I need to go back and look at this. But they know Tupac was going to jump in. Either way, you get Tupac now involved in this on camera. So then when he's shot later, you assume that it's Orlando Anderson. Because now that I think about it, when I go back to this, I was 16 years old and I heard about this case. And the fact that, okay, Tupac gets shot and killed, but he gets shot first. He doesn't die for 6 days. But immediately people were saying they thought it was Orlando Anderson, the guy that they jumped at the nightclub. And for me, that just seemed too obvious, because I was thinking, no, there's no way. Like, I mean, there's a way, but it seems unlikely that that's the guy they get into the altercation with. But Tupac isn't shot right then. And then he's later shot on the street. Like, Tupac is, he's a star. He's protected. Like, it would be hard to locate him again. And so to me, it seemed too clean. Or actually, and this is the 16-year-old me, I was thinking, yeah, that could be a setup, because you specifically have somebody go out of their way to get Tupac on video having an altercation with this guy. So then whoever the real killers are, they then put it on this other individual, Orlando Anderson, which seemingly then now that makes sense that he would want revenge when actually Tupac was the intended target the whole time, because Orlando Anderson just got, roughed up a little bit. He didn't get shot at or even shot. So I don't know.
So I'm reading up because I did remember this, that there was a lot. Snoop Dogg and Tupac had a very fractured relationship at this time. Specifically, somebody in our chat was mentioning this radio interview, so I had to go find it, that effectively Snoop Dogg did a New York radio interview stating he had no issues with Sean Diddy Combs or the Notorious B.I.G. and was open to working with them. And that was taken off as a betrayal.
Yep.
Snoop Dogg also expressed concern over Tupac increasingly adopting Death Row's dangerous street rivalries, believing it was safer to remain neutral.
Because also, just to throw this in there too, Snoop Dogg is a Crip. And so this is which Keefy D is. However, Snoop Dogg was signed to Death Row, which is run by Bloods. So deepening the conspiracy, actually that makes sense though, that if there was going to be something that happened to Tupac by the Crips, Snoop actually could be tipped off about it.
Right.
Because he being a Crip.
96 MTV Movie Awards. They had Snoop Dogg has since recounted a tense 5-hour flight back to California with Tupac, where the two did not speak a single word to each other.
Yeah, that was in the movie too.
And then they never reconciled, which also explains why he would have run back. And then this last part where AI wants to keep you using AI. So I ignore that last part. They're like, hey, do you want to do another prompt? I'm like, no, I'm good. I got what I asked for. So if you're the defense, I guess you're trying a two-pronged approach. One-pronged approach, you're discrediting Keefy D at every step of the way.
Yep.
And the other prong approach is you're trying to leave doubt outside of just discrediting him, that there's no way his story could have been accurate. It's like, well, Reggie Jackson could have done this. Is Orlando's last name?
Anderson.
Orlando Anderson could have been the gunman. Like, this could have been. You just have to leave enough reasonable doubt that, like, you don't have to prove who did it. Like, clearly that's very difficult because it's been a very long time. You just have to prove that it's not what Keefy D said. Right. Which is a weird place to be as a defense. Usually you have to make the defendant a reliable source for information. In this case, you want the opposite.
Right. Well, and also the interesting thing about this case is usually the defendant has not ratted on themselves and self-incriminated. But in this case, he has. Like he claimed responsibility for it and all of that. Although maybe that was part of it. He didn't realize that because he said that his nephew pulled the trigger. He didn't realize that he implicated himself, though, too, by placing himself in the car, and actually being the one to pass the gun, and saying that he would have shot if it was on his side of the car. So all of these things do not help Keefy D at all. They're not wise things to say, because that's exactly what has landed him here in this space.
Looking at all this evidence in 2026, it's wild to me. It's wild to me that there could be any day of my life where I couldn't unequivocally account for myself when it comes to surveillance. Like, you could pick a random day in the last 15 years. And if you were like the state of California or the state of Nevada trying to prove I did or didn't commit murder, you could find clean evidence of where exactly I was.
Right. But go back 30 years, it's a little harder.
It's a little harder, but I'm with some of the commenters that were saying that feels like something we should be able to prove.
I believe that to be the case too, especially because he traveled to Las Vegas. So somebody had to check into a hotel. There was rental cars involved.
If he flew, there should be okay. He didn't. So if he drove, but like that's a tank of gas if you drive.
Right. No, that might be hard. Well, I don't know. Like well, I don't know if everybody. I think 30 years ago, it's more common to pay for your gas with cash, too,
Right.
not necessarily always credit card or
But
there
at
definitely
least-
wasn't Apple Pay.
Well, of course, but like at least if he drove Los Angeles to Las Vegas, that's like a 4-hour drive. You're likely stopping on average twice. So between a stop for gas and then maybe if you stopped for a meal, that like
The only thing would be, yeah, there would be surveillance video, but I'm not sure that they would have kept them for
well, yeah,
until I don't know when he first made his first statement about this. But it was after Orlando Anderson was already dead. It was a number of years. And
Well,
so
I'm just saying if I'm the defense and I'm trying to place doubt that Keefe D was even in Las Vegas that weekend. My argument would be, just to be clear, I understand 96 isn't 2026, but just to be clear, this thing has been investigated more than most murder trials in the last 30 years have been investigated. Every stitch of evidence about everyone involved has been widely scrutinized and searched through. You're telling me that Keefe D drove from Los Angeles to Las Vegas, stopped his car at least twice, interacted with people when he stopped his car at least twice, checked into the Monte Carlo, likely valeted his car, checked into the hotel, interacted with the front desk person, went up to their room, likely interacted with the person who brought their bags up to the room, and then came back down and then hung out with all their friends, attended a fight that was broadcast, and then got in a car and murdered or was involved in the murder of Tupac Shakur.
you know what? And two things. One of the things you said right there really, really makes sense because he testified, or it was in his statement that they all got their cars from valet. So the cars were valeted. Now, at that time, remember, his nephew was with him. The only time his nephew wasn't with him was when he got jumped. So assuming they spent time together, all they would have to do is go back and look for the surveillance video of Orlando Anderson getting into a car, which I'm sure they did because they got the video of the fight that night with Tupac and Orlando Anderson. And he was easily identified because Orlando Anderson was wearing a Dan Marino jersey. So they knew, okay, this guy is a person of interest. Why wouldn't you investigate? Is he staying at the hotel? No. All right, check the hotels around here. Where was he staying? And also look for the car. Can we tie him to a white Cadillac? Look at all the valet footage. That should have been done.
That should have been done in 1997.
Yeah.
Like that's, but I were the defense and I was trying to belay doubt that Keefe D was even in that city. That would be my argument. Just like the state would like you to believe that the absence of evidence is evidence.
I'll tell you what would be even stronger that the defense should be doing. Maybe they have done. I don't know. If they do this, I think this might be a slam dunk for them, as close as you can get. If they were able to find some evidence to place Keefe D anywhere else but Las Vegas on that night, if you find evidence to place Keefe D in Los Angeles at the time of the shooting, or that he wasn't even at the fight, now his story is clearly false. Because also, where's his ex-wife? Maybe they should or I don't know.
Well, she's on the witness, or
is she on the witness list?
She's on the witness list.
Because if she says, no, I didn't go to Las Vegas. Keefe was with me. Yeah, if she says Keefe was with me and we were in Los Angeles, or maybe we ordered it on pay-per-view, something like that, or saw it somewhere else. Yeah, like that would be powerful.
I think that would be, from what we've seen so far, kind of game-changing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because right now, and like I was launching into my Perry Mason a little, where I was like, evidence is evidence. The absence of evidence is not evidence. So all they need to do is find any stitch of evidence at all that he was in Los Angeles that night. And then it completely discredits his story as just a story. They're like, I'm sorry. If it's fraud, like if this is a fraud case about writing a book about lies, by all means, he's guilty.
Yeah. However, I feel the fact that this has gone this far, we haven't heard anything like that, means they probably don't have any evidence that suggests that he was in Los Angeles. And we don't know who is calling what's her name, Paula Clemens, Keefe D's.
Yeah, we only know she's a witness.
I don't know if they're still married or that's his ex-wife. I think I heard it was his ex-wife, but I don't know. But either way, the prosecution may be calling her, and she might say, which actually, that could be really damaging to the defense if she says, "Oh no, we were here in Las Vegas, we checked in, we stayed at the Monte Carlo under my name or whatever." Like if she says that, then that's a witness putting him in Las Vegas. Because that's the other thing, we don't know. Are there any witnesses or from the prosecution side that can say they saw Keefe D? Because if Suge Knight testified and said he did see Keefe D in Las Vegas, well, that's not good for Keefe D. If anybody says that they saw him in Las Vegas, that's not good for him.
Right. But it seems like the defense doesn't have anything very solid putting him not in Las Vegas. But I think that's still bad for the state.
Yeah.
Because the state doesn't have any evidence. And Paula Clemens is still married to Keefe D.
They're still married.
Still married. So that is his current. But like, if it was his ex-wife, that would make it better.
Marital privilege here.
Well, but marital privilege means if prosecution calls her, she can just say no, or not say no. She would have to plead marital privilege on the stand. Like the Fifth Amendment. Like you have to go there. You have to go to the trouble.
You wouldn't have to testify against Keefe D. So if she's on the witness list, I'm thinking that the defense is calling her.
Yes. And that at a minimum, she has eyewitness testimony to his whereabouts that evening.
Which I think are going to be strong. And then the prosecution's only recourse is to try to imply that she's lying in order to protect him.
Also, I think I know the answer, but if she's called for defense and then she says what she gives her account that helps Keefe D, and then prosecution shows up, she doesn't then get to claim marital privilege, right? Like she chose to take the stand, right?
She can be cross-examined on whatever she said on the direct examination. Yes. Yeah.
Some days I feel like there are no stupid questions, and then other days I scroll Facebook and think, somebody might want that answered.
No, that's a great question.
Yeah,
that's actually that's a great question. Yeah. I can't wait for that.
Yeah, this trial is going to be fun. Do you think it goes? How long do you think the state's going to take?
I don't know.
These days have been short too, compared to other trials we've messed with.
Yeah. And because a lot of it, so far has been listening to testimony, which can get tedious. And for, you want to keep a jury engaged. They try to give them enough breaks and stuff. But yeah, they've been starting at like 1 p.m. Although they do start at 9 or 9:30 on Monday. But I don't know. We'll see how many witnesses they intend to call, but I expect it's going to go at least another couple weeks, maybe longer. Yeah.
Are you going to let the people know? Are you going to stick with it? You sticking with this case?
Oh, I'm sticking with this case. Yeah. Oh, no. I'm invested in this. I'm enjoying it far too much. And I mean, just from a fan standpoint, like for one thing, but also it's interesting legally. And the fact that, you have a defendant who has self-incriminated and is now arguing against himself. Like the most powerful witness against him is himself.
Right.
So how do you combat that? That's
most defenses in a murder trial don't even have a Hail Mary.
Yeah.
This one at least has a Hail Mary. Like, let's put him on the stand and just discredit him.
Yeah.
Doug Campbell is saying Orlando Anderson's then girlfriend, who Keefe D put in Vegas during his proffer, is still alive. And the witness list is 200 people, and we don't actually know this person's name.
You could put Keefe in Vegas, and so could Foxy Brown. That's true. That's true.
Just because it hasn't happened doesn't mean it won't happen.
Right.
The prosecution will eventually put Keefe D in Las Vegas.
Yeah. I think they probably will. How strong that will be remains to be seen, because it depends on their manner of doing it. It will probably be through an eyewitness testimony. But here's the other thing. Orlando Anderson's then girlfriend. Is she, I don't know.
Right.
Is she willing to protect Keefe D? Like, I don't know what she'd say. Foxy Brown also. I don't know.
Well, but to that end, Keefe D's own wife, still own wife, like in our scenario where she takes a stand, gives him an alibi, the argument then just becomes like, well, but he's your husband, though. I'm not going to accuse you of lying on the stand. I am going to say,
yeah,
if anyone were to lie on the stand for him, it would be your husband of 40 years, however long they've been married. Like that poses some doubt as well.
Also, I got to hear this part again because Keefe D said Foxy Brown was in the car. I thought he said she was in the car with Zip. Zip is the guy who allegedly provided the gun to Keefe D, who then passed it around, but then also was allegedly the guy who was supposed to be paid by or handle the money, get it from Diddy. But what I can't figure out is why was Foxy Brown in the car with Zip, who's also, as far as I understand, a Crip and tied to potentially Sean Diddy Combs, whereas Foxy Brown was in a relationship with death row artist Corrupt. So why would I can't figure out why she would be in the car with them as opposed to, I don't know, potentially being wherever Corrupt was. That's my question.
Right.
But which again, this is according to Keefe D. We don't even know if this was true. That's the other thing is Foxy Brown might not testify because she could say she wasn't there, or maybe she was. Who knows? But that I was a Foxy Brown fan too, so I hope she does testify. That'd be interesting. Yeah.
Well, I think we got there. So 9:30 Monday.
Yeah, 9:30 Monday. We'll see what they start with. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. But guys, hit me in the comments with your questions and whatever your thoughts are on everything we talked about here. And I'll see you guys on Monday, and we'll keep this thing rolling and see what transpires next week. Thank you.